Hello, you weren't the first, Cherished Teddy. It was Scouty Paws. Ada. I hope you're doing well. I'm just going to throw open YouTube. Hold on, give me 1 second. One day I had this all set up, but I still messed up. Hello, Holy Roller. Wish you'd manipulate my market. Very nice. Hello, Marcus Ryan. Hello, everybody else who's here. Hello, D-Roy. Hello, Resigning Zeus. It is not gaming day. Hello, More AI. Hello, everyone else who's here. There's only you three, really. Well, 5. I don't know. 6. Nagok, hello. Oh, yeah, Chris and fresh coffee. I've got myself a fresh cup of tea. Yeah, second. Indeed, second. That is a lol moment. Opening some Pokemon cards today on stream. Where was that implied that I'd be opening Pokemon cards? I'm suffering because loads of the Pokemon cards I had when I was a kid are fake, mate. I don't know how I have them as well. I could have sworn I bought them all from, like, reputable places. Maybe they were ones gifted to me, but tons of them are just in Spanish and fake. Pop by after 5. Have a great stream. Thank you. Should be on still, so not really an issue. Yeah, I hope you're all having good days. Say cup of tea for us again, please. Cup of tea. Christ. You know what? We're gonna do a Swift Wordle today. I'm gonna save some of the other stuff. Smart smear campaign from mainstream media on Zach Polanski. I mean, maybe I'll comment. Yeah, maybe I'll do some stuff on that. It's not really been a very busy news day. It's once again back into this impossible swing of the Iran war to comment on. Like, there's no real way to comment on it seriously at this point because, you know, a few days ago there were major escalations and then you just have the US administration going, no, that didn't happen, and denying reality. And I think it's just so incredibly incoherent at this point. And I think it probably is market manipulation, but I don't know. But remains to be seen. It's just a tough one. Bread. Brilliant. I will start with that. Oh, I was accidentally typing that in the chat, but we'll start with that. Bread. Okay, thank you. Float. That's a word, isn't it? I know float is spelt differently as in F-L-O-A-T, but I assume that's a word. For some reason I feel like it is. Thank you for the bread, Johannes. Jonas Hannes, not Johannes. Okay, so it doesn't start. Okay, and it can't be lemon. It can't be lemon. Nice try. Oh. Hell. Jelly? Is that going to be it? Oh my god. Okay, so it might start with an... No, fuck. Okay, so it could start with an E. Evils? Let's have a look at that. Oh my god. What the hell? So it starts with an L. I think it starts with an L. And then it has an E. Sure, I'll check it out after. I have a few emails that I need to check out. E has to be fourth. Oh yeah, E has to be fourth. Fuck. So I assume it's so E fourth. What? It's probably L-I something E. Oh, live. No, it can't be that. Like, it might be lichen. Nice. Linen probably would have been a better guess, but Is that just how you spell to make something alike? That's not how you spell... That doesn't really feel like a word that should be on Wordle. Because I was thinking like, oh, is that how you spell the other lichen? But it's not, is it? Like that lichen spelled differently. That's so... I don't know about that. Lichen just doesn't really feel like it should be a Wordle word. I'm not going to lie. I don't think that should be a word. Yeah, exactly. I know that other lichen is spelt differently, as in the plant or the fungus. Is it a fungus? Let's have a look. It's a fungus, apparently. Could have been the Dota 2 hero, Lycan, Lycan. That could have been a good guess, but unfortunately it had an E. I think Wordle is pissing me off. I am likening it to trash. It's a normal word. I know it's a normal word. What on earth are these? What on earth? Oh my god, I'm dyspraxic, I'm pretty sure, and like looking at shapes is hell on earth. So create 4 groups, okay. So 2 dots, 2 dots. This is some IQ test nonsense. I think it. No, this is just connections. This is literally just connections today. Why is it all symbols? Yeah, I was looking at the lines one, but does that look like it's going to be... I don't think that's right. I'll try it, but... Ooh. One away. Wait, you think there's casino items? So you think it's that, the cards, the dice, and chips? Which is the casino... What was that? Yeah, this is woke nonsense. This is about a load of woke drivel. This is the kind of stuff that Keir Starmer wants kids to be doing. The casino puller. What's a casino puller? This thing? Is that what you mean? Like a slot machine? Are these poker chips? Let's have a look. Oh my god, I fucking hate this. Found in a casino. I like it. I like the picture there. It's nice and yellow. Oh, you think this is bowling? Oh, okay. That's a bowling lane. And what's the other bowling thing? This? Is it this? Oh, what's the other bowling thing? Which is the scorecard? Which is the scorecard? I can't, what even is this one? What's the scorecard? Am I right that it's this one, or which one's the scorecard? That's the scorecard. No, that's the lane. Which is the scorecard? Which is the scorecard? What on earth? So you think that's zipper, and then you think there's a buckle? What? Oh, that's a belt buckle. I see that now. And then what's the other one on here? A button? Is it that? Ah, fuck off. This is awful. So... Wait, I can't even see what it is. Hold on. Oh, this can piss off. Flag designs. Brilliant. Thanks for this today. Really nice. Fuck you, New York Times. Bunch of bullshit. Why am I doing that? I want to do one where it's like words and I can struggle with it. That's hell on earth for me. So wait. What were the bowling ones? What was... It doesn't even really show you. Now, this kind of stuff is just hell on earth for me. Like, just looking at something like this. I hate shapes. I always have. I was really good at, like, I remember we had to do quadratic equations, and I remember in the GCSE I did, there was, like, one semi-hard question, and I got it so easily. But the other one, but, like, there was a shape one that wasn't as hard, and I couldn't do it, because I hate them. They make me feel... they make me feel upset. I heard Kim Jong-un denounced reunification today, or they dropped it, which is kind of crazy. Part of me wants to do the spelling bee to make myself feel better. I had to lay low for some time because I didn't know what was going to happen today. I mean, probably not from the news. I don't know. I'm not sure. No, he's in... Tutu is in... they're in the UAE. I'm gonna do this instead. Vault. Tall. Troll. It's definitely not how you spell it as a W. There's no O. Value. There's no E. Liar is a good one. Rail, fine. It's a good one too. I didn't see that. Yeah. No, it's just trail. Vital, that's a good one. Vitality. You can't get I guess virality. I mean, trivial, that's a great one. It's annoying it doesn't have a Y because you keep thinking about so many that you can put at the end. Viral. Virality. Oh. Trail. Voltage. Volta. Yeah. Rurality. No. That's not how you spell aerial, is it? It's not. Is that how you spell? No, I feel like I'm spelling that wrong. Virtual. That's a great one. That was that we did okay. Thank you for your help. Aerial has an E, doesn't it? Aerial. Yeah. Oh, I'm just upset still over this the thing. And yeah, you can use it. You can use the virtual. I think we did virtual, no? I don't remember. I can't keep playing, though. They took it away because I was doing so sick. Okay, right. Let's guys, I have a bit of an anti-Semitic video to show you, so you guys are going to enjoy this one. So this is some lady who's mad at... She's Miss Israel, and she's mad at Zoran Mamdani's wife.
So guess who sat next to me at a cafe in New York? None other than Zohran Mamdani's wife, Rama Douaji. The same Rama Douaji who posted horribly anti-Semitic, anti-Israel, and
Nah, not true.
terror-sympathizing things.
I mean, I was talking about Sabra and Shatila yesterday. And I don't know, like, you look at the context of how October the 7th happened, and it's just like, what justice did the Palestinians ever get? The whole thing, that the reason that people want you to talk about this as if it somehow justifies mass extermination in Gaza, it doesn't, and it never will. It never changed the dynamic in Palestine. Like, war crimes are committed, hold people to account for war crimes, but the problem is that's not what Israel wants to do. Because Israel just wants to kill people because that's what it's always done, and what it always seeks to do.
That long ago, and also apologized for it. But here's the funny thing. She was willing to take a photo with me until—
Oh, this has music on, for fuck's sake! Oh, we can't find out about this. Fuck's sake. We can't find out about what Zoran's evil wife has done. That's sad. And probably, yeah, she was the lady glaring at Miss Palestine. Oh, that's annoying. I was looking forward to finding out what she had to say. She was stalking the First Lady. What was she stalking, the First Lady? What do you mean? Nick Shirley was a real hoot. Did he manage to escape? I think Nick Shirley escaped. I don't know. I don't know if our boy Nick Shirley is free. Let's have a look. I did see this video.
Shirley, I'm in the hotel that you were supposedly in here in Havana, Cuba, and you're nowhere to be seen. Neither is the security and the CIA and the spies that were supposedly holding you hostage. We understand that you're super tight with Trump, and basically what you're doing is just pretext for the United States to try to go.
I think this is probably the most important thing to mention about all of this. And I vaguely mentioned it yesterday, but I feel like people should hit on this more. Nick Shirley is basically just, you know, an American government of propagandist official. If some Cuban propagandist was wandering around, yeah, sure. Sure. They would get arrested.
Go ahead and invade Cuba the same way they did with Venezuela, but you're not here. I'm at the hotel that Nick Shirley said that he's currently being held hostage by the Cuban government in, and that he was tailed by their secret service, and there's literally no security.
Yeah, free my guy Nick. The Cubans made a big mistake here, because if they had kept Nick Shirley, they would have, it would have lowered their own IQ. But if they sent him back, then it would have decreased the IQ of America.
Here, I'm making a video in public in a country that he said is communist.
Yeah, I think Ethan Klein said that Che Guevara shot someone in the head for not being revolutionary enough. Che Guevara's ghost came and shot Nick Shirley in the head for not doing enough revolutions.
So because of the communism, there's no freedom of speech. Well, as this brother here sees, there is freedom of
What was that guy up to? Look at the Chinese guy with the big stick.
Here sees
He's loving that. That is a big ass drag.
There is freedom of speech, and Nick Shirley's nowhere to be seen, and neither are these spies that he's talking about. We're actually about to walk in right now and go find out exactly where he is. Let's see.
Hola, buenas. ¿Cómo están?
Hola, hola.
Hola, ¿cómo están?
¿De dónde son ustedes? ¿De aquí?
¿Yo?
Ajá.
Soy de Estados Unidos.
Ah, sí. Adiós.
Chao, buenas noches.
Hasta luego.
Maybe that was the Cuban spy. I enjoyed this, I will say. Let's find out, though, if he's safe. If Nick Shirley's safe. I assume he's gone forever. No, he's not. He's not posted anything. I can't wait to see his documentary. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Fuck this guy. This guy's just an American government propagandist whose exclusive job is to manufacture consent for whatever moronic thing that the Trump administration seeks to pursue next in America. Like, let's be real here. The American government is doing the most moronic thing. So you know what? This guy is a great representative. This guy is a is a brilliant representative for the American government. Apparently Nick Shirley is fluent in Spanish. I'm fluent in Spanish. Nice try, though. Apparently, I don't know if I believe that. Maybe he is. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. Nick Shirley would be a great addition to the No Politic podcast. Yes, it would probably be good that we raise the IQ of the people on the No Politic here podcast. After, I do actually kind of fear that you guys would kind of get bored of me and Isaac after hearing Nick Shirley say fucking anything.
Making up.
He went into a Narcotics Anonymous meeting trying to investigate them.
Think of this.
This is one of his greatest hits.
3 most benevolent billionaires.
What do you mean by the word benevolent?
Just well-intended.
What do you? I also like how benevolent would only have one clear meaning. And I suppose the argument you might make is, well, maybe he was saying whether you meant in terms of how they spend their money or whether they're good, nice people.
Mentioned positive billionaires who you think are creating, net positive societal progress.
Trump? Our president? I think he...
Who do you think are the...
Imagine starting your list out of... imagine starting your list with some guy that is the opposite of benevolent. He communicates primarily in grunts. Yeah, to be fair, I guess if you communicate primarily in grunts, it's pretty easy to have a long-term conversation with, to claim to be fluent in any language. This guy can just grunt at people and they understand it. Yeah, Andrew Callahan's not a nice fella, isn't he? Is he? There's some Sky News video I've just seen popped up that I want to watch. I'm just going to stick this on. This is an investigation for a mother and a daughter who disappeared in Gaza.
This is a story of one family from Gaza, their terror and terrible loss, and their fight for answers. It's a mystery about much-loved relatives who've disappeared and asks, is this policy? And how many others have vanished in Gaza? It's also the story of a single photograph. On the left of the picture is 41-year-old Huda Al-Akkad. Sitting next to her is her 78-year-old mother Aisha. The two of them are in the back of an Israeli military vehicle. There's no
It's crazy that these genocidal maniacs on the right live in a state that isn't even as old as this person here, yet they believe that they have an inalienable right to ethnically cleanse all of the land.
Explanation from the Israeli military about why they're photographed like this, why they were detained, and very little detail about what happened to them afterwards. Their surviving family members are clinging to the hope that somehow their relatives are alive. They only discovered the picture recently, some 2 years after it was taken, and they urgently want answers.
By God, I demand justice. Our whole family does. We hope they're alive and we can get them out. We want a medical body, anybody, the Red Cross,
Clock his hat, by the way.
anyone to stand with us, go through all the procedures and find out which prison they're in.
We want justice and someone held accountable. We want to know what happened to them. Where are they? Have they been killed by the Israelis? Are they in Israeli prison somewhere? We want to know.
We've been looking into the photograph with a team of investigative lawyers from around the world. We've pieced together the events leading up to...
It's kind of crazy how many people now do they think are missing in Gaza? Because let's be real here, one of the major issues is no one is doing anything in Gaza. The vast majority of people are just living in fucking tents. A very limited number of people have even some kind of structure to live in. Hospitals are not working properly at all. So, yeah.
The disappearance of the women. We've interviewed witnesses and surviving family and examined satellite images. We've compiled open source intelligence and scrutinized the soldiers' social media posts. The Glan lawyers have been involved in several legal cases against Israel in recent years. Together, we're left with multiple worrying question marks about the women who disappeared.
This photograph, at the very least, illustrates that these two women were taken captive by the Israeli military in very degrading conditions.
As a human rights lawyer, it's one of the most worrying things.
You've really got to wonder what was done. Like, what was done. And I haven't seen any indication it's 300,000 people missing. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen an indication of that. And I don't know, just like, you have to wonder why you kill someone. Like, why you kill someone you've captured. Because, I mean, Sabra and Shatila happened years ago. Which, by the way, it's crazy how the Lebanese government never did anything. If you look into Sabra and Shatila, it is actually kind of fucking mental how Eli Habaker went on to be... I'd forgotten this story until I reread it yesterday. Eli Habaker, the guy who basically commanded Sabra and Shatila, excuse me, I always call it Shatia by accident, as if it's like tortilla. He was killed in a car bomb that they still don't know who did it, really. But just before it happened, he said that he was willing to testify in a Belgian court about what Israel was doing. He was willing to, about Sharon's role in Sabra and Shatila. Obviously, Sharon played a huge role in Sabra and Shatila. And the the Americans also prevented a challenge at... they also presented a challenge at a... They quashed a course brought by victims of the massacre in a Belgian court. The Americans literally squashed it because they didn't want this guy being questioned. It's really interesting. But, like, the death toll of Sabra and Shatila just isn't known. Somewhere between 1,300 to 3,500. And you can read, by the way, the things they did. It's like October the 7th, the stories they made up about October the 7th really don't come close. And there was no investigation of this. Like, I'm not even going to read from the Wikipedia section. It's actually insane.
That can happen when a state takes in people and makes them disappear.
When this is done systematically, it may amount to a crime against humanity.
Cited are based on studies. That's how my family pronounced it. There was also a pretty famous bakery in Michigan. What, named after it? And by the way, do you really think that Nick Shirley is wearing Velcro shoes? I kind of want to see the full investigation. How long is it? Hold on.
This is a story of one family from...
Okay, it's like 12 minutes. Actually, we should watch it.
Happened to them? Where are they? Have they been killed by the Israelis? Are they in Israeli prison somewhere? We want to know.
We've been looking into the photograph with a team of investigative lawyers from around the world.
Do these traumatic scenes not affect you? I don't know. I've just read about this a lot. I read about this kind of stuff all the time, and there are certain things which stick with me and I remember that have very deep emotional impacts. But quite a lot of it I just feel horrendous about, and I wish I could stop it, but I don't know what it just doesn't affect me in that kind of way. Like, it doesn't make me cry. I don't cry over Palestine-related things often. I've cried over a couple of Palestine-related films, but that's it. I don't really cry about it. I don't know. It's awful, and it's not that I don't feel strongly about what's happening and wish I could do everything to stop it, but I don't know. I feel like in many ways you end up becoming desensitized because you see so much horror. And this wasn't like something that all of a sudden has come on and like really overwhelmed me. This is what I knew Israel was like before this. There are certain events pre-October the 7th that stick with me more. Al-Halak. I always remember the killing of Iyad al-Halak. Like way more. The killing of Iyad al-Halak, if you guys, like a lot of you probably weren't following Palestine-related stuff prior to October the 7th, or at least a lot of people generally won't. Just read about this story. Some autistic man like ran away from the Israelis, and he was like terrified, and the Israelis just shot him. There's like no reason or justification for it. Like they just shot him. They murdered this autistic guy, and you just think about how terrified that person must have been, how some Israeli soldier probably took so much pleasure from it. And I think that sticks with me because it was earlier. Like post-October the 7th, you know, I knew what Israel was like, I knew what it was and what it is. And this kind of stuff has been present throughout all history. And especially when it comes to colonial empires, like recent history, they're all like this. Israel is just yet another example of a brutal, brutal colonial project that is just despicable.
World. We've pieced together the events leading up to the disappearance of the women. We've interviewed witnesses and surviving family and examined satellite images. We've compiled open source intelligence and scrutinized the soldiers' social media posts. The Glan lawyers have been involved in several legal cases against Israel in recent years. Together, we're left with multiple worrying question marks about the women who disappeared.
This photograph, at the very least, illustrates that these two women were taken captive by the Israeli military in very degrading conditions.
As a human rights lawyer, it's...
Like, I think the thing for me, I think the major thing for me as well is the fact, like, in the UK right now, people are like, oh, you know, we should be really concerned about what's like the rising anti-Semitism. But let's be real here. Like, sure, there are some people who are going to look at this and they're going to be like, right, all Jewish people are responsible for this. But this has to be addressed as well. The fact that a kind of thing like this can just happen as a regular policy of a military that we're giving intelligence to basically just engage in never-ending race-based slaughter is fucking insane. What do you make of most British Jews disagreeing with non-Jews about what constitutes anti-Semitism, e.g. Marches and Corbyn and Polanski? Most British Jews. I mean, obviously Israel has been very good at propaganda for a very long time. And the thing is that ultimately this taps into very, very, very real feelings of Jewish people from history, of the mass extermination. Like, Jewish people in Europe were nearly wiped out, you know, like 60, 70 years ago. And Israel has basically been working to police the diaspora with that. They've been saying, like, look, if you don't support us, we're going to have that done to us. People are taken on birthright trips, so they build connections with Israelis. They have family members over there who tell them how scary it is, how we need to appreciate both sides. And there is this whole effort by the media to constantly say, look at this anti-Semitic thing, look at this anti-Semitic thing, how this stands apart from every other form of racism. It has to be contextualized that it is a form of racism and bigotry. Interpersonal bigotry, like interpersonal racism and bigotry is pretty hard to address. Like, unfortunately, people are always going to say mean things to one another. Structural racism can categorically be addressed, and that is not what Jewish people are suffering from. They're not suffering from structural racism, and if you think they are, that's unbelievable. British Jewish people tend to be better off than like general Jewish people. Not that all Jewish people are better off or anything, but I think on average that was the case like a decade or so ago. It probably still is the case. But this notion that they're experiencing like structural racism just isn't really true. It's just not. But as a form of bigotry, sure, try and address it, try and educate people and try and push people away from anti-Semitic tropes and stereotypes and all of this stuff.
One of the most worrying things that can happen when a state takes in people and makes them disappear.
When this is done systematically, it may amount to a crime against humanity.
We need to take you back to December 2020.
For what it's worth, I think it doesn't matter, but our political class abides by the Macpherson principle that a minority, except for Muslims and black people, get to define what counts as racism. I mean, yeah. How come Adam Friedland... Adam Friedland is most definitely not the only Jewish person who went on Birthright and realised that it was wrong there. You can actually talk to a lot of people who went on Birthright and were like, this is actually quite weird. The Birthright stuff is quite weird. I mean, Birthright is really weird, especially the fact that you can, by the way, as Ethan Klein put it, it's like a Jewish dating simulator. You have to let the Germans celebrate their emotional support the Holocaust. Right, and I think that that's another thing. Like, I was watching this video today of this guy called Louis Danker, who's like the head of university Jewish students. And by the way, like, I'm sure that I don't doubt that Jewish people on campuses do experience anti-Semitism. At Exeter University, like, there were some people walking around with t-shirts that had like slogans about how Jewish people were just really anti-Semitic stuff. It was in 2016. It was pretty wild. However, simultaneously, like when I was at Exeter, there was like a totally fictitious anti-Semitism incident made up by a pro-Israel group. It was totally fictitious.
3. A temporary truce between Israel and Hamas had broken down, and the Israeli military was launching what became known as fire belts in Gaza, a line of rapid aerial bombardments. Israeli troops then moved into the Khan Yunis area. The Al-Akkad family and thousands of others were ordered by the Israeli military to leave their homes. In the face of these military maneuvers, most of the Al-Akkad family fled, but their elderly parents...
I love how in Israel's military video...
these military maneuvers...
Just quickly, you can pretty much see that Israel is not engaging in serious military maneuvers because the guys over here are just stood doing nothing. They're just destroying stuff and shooting grenades because they can.
Most of the Al-Akkad family fled, but their elderly parents, Mohammed and Aisha, refused to go, and 3 of their grown-up children stayed with them. They were sons Iyad and Zakaria, and their daughter Huda. In this satellite image before the onslaught, we've highlighted the series of homes where the extended Al-Akkad family lived on 5th Street in the Al-Katiba neighbourhood. As the fighting became more intense, the relatives who'd already fled were begging their parents to leave too. They recorded a call thinking it would be their last. Their parents and siblings were now trapped with Israeli tanks on the street.
Hey!
2 different audio experts have told us the background sounds are consistent with drones, gunfire and explosions. Bakir rings his trapped brother Zakaria with his wife Tarir, who's frantic with worry.
Hold on, let me just move myself up. And also, I think another problem is half of the people who are in these pro-Israel groups actually don't know shit about Israel. Like, they literally don't know anything. Like, they really don't. They listen to, there's that whole thing about, like, pro-Palestine people get educated on TikTok. Like, pro-Israel people get educated by slopagandists like fucking, slopagandists like Noah Tishby and fucking Hen Mazig, and that's their means for understanding the world. And so I think that a lot of these people in these organizations are just genuine idiots.
دقدوق تامن دقدوق ومحمد شعرضوا كلهم عارف ايش قلت لك انا عارف الحزام النار بده كل العالم. طب انت بتسمع صوت الدبابه غاضب بتحرط على الارض؟ هذا عنده خش في الحكوره يا معلم. خش ولا يسوي.
Satellite images from 6th of December show Israeli troops closing in. 80 vehicles are visible within a few kilometres of the house. Several are moving along a road that leads directly to the family's neighbourhood. The next day, the troops are much closer. 2 military bases can now be seen and have been established less than 400 metres from the house. By December 8th, there's heavy fighting and explosions around the nearby Al-Katiba mosque. The Israeli military says via telegram channels they've been attacked by Hamas fighters. 2 soldiers were killed in the fighting. The mosque was destroyed. The Israeli military announces the dead soldiers are from the Golani Brigade's Battalion 12 and issues videos of them operating. The same day, the trapped siblings say their father's been shot by Israeli snipers in his backyard and urgently needs help.
My brother called me and said, "Our father's wounded and we need an ambulance or the Red Cross. Get help from someone." I called the Red Cross and they said they couldn't go to the 5th Street. I called the ambulance and they also said it's a combat zone and they couldn't get in.
The Israeli troops are still very active in the area. The trapped siblings frantically call and text that Israeli gunfire and armed drones are stopping them reaching their wounded father in the backyard. They watch from the house as he bleeds out and dies. His body's...
Really do enjoy this feature of the Israeli military that often doesn't get spoke about. They seem to just love shooting people and then watching them slowly bleed out. Really awesome thing that they just seem to constantly fucking do.
Never been recovered. The siblings and their mother flee to a neighbour's house on the same street. The surviving family members lose contact with their trapped relatives around this time. Video taken from inside one of the Al-Akkad homes shows it was comprehensively trashed by the Israeli military action. Room after room is a pile of destruction. From one balcony, there's a glimpse of the rear. That is where their parents' home used to be, and where Mohammed, their father, was shot whilst praying in the backyard. This is what the family returned to when the troops withdrew 4 months later. They found nothing but destruction and body parts.
Do you know what is kind of crazy? You know how there's tons of people who kind of like draw on historical examples of wars or try and compare it to anything else? You really don't see many places that actually look like Gaza. It's really hard to know if anywhere looks like it. Like, you don't see places that have been intentionally razed by bulldozers to nothing, to literally just nothing.
When I went to the body, I didn't know who it was because half of it was missing. The body remained there for about 2 months.
Our investigations could not determine exactly how or why the two women ended up with the Israeli soldiers. Only the soldiers can answer that. But at least one witness said they saw the elderly Aisha clinging to her son Zachariah as troops dragged her away. The Sky News data and forensics team and the GLAN investigators separately confirmed the identity.
Even in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, by the way, the level of destruction of structures was not the same as Gaza.
Identities of the 3 soldiers pictured in the Israeli military vehicle. The soldier far left is Lieutenant Ido Meir, commander of Leopard Platoon in the Golani Brigade's 12th Battalion. Next to him is Sergeant Dolev Mor Yusuf, and then Amit Elyakov. Sergeant Mor Yusuf posted the photo on social media before hastily deleting it. None of them replied to our requests for comment. The IDF issued several videos at this time, including showing the 12th Battalion in the area the same day Mohammed was killed and around the time the 2 women and Zachariah disappeared. Soldiers from Leopard Platoon also posted pictures of themselves there. In one, again geolocated, Sergeant Mor Yusuf is seen in what was once the Al-Akkad's backyard.
Yeah, like, Gaza has been erased, but that's why it's a genocide. And once again, this is why I would actually implore you to read about genocide and understand it, because it's not actually really about the mass killing element. It is much more to do with the fact that Israel has intentionally sought to destroy basically everything in Gaza. And by the way, it's absolute bullshit that they had to destroy all of the homes because they were filled with booby traps. They were literally sending in civilian contractors into the West Bank, from the West Bank into Gaza so that they could go and destroy homes. If it was really every home was booby trapped, like 90%, you think they'd risk civilians because it would lead to huge amounts of them being blown up, because occasionally they were blown up.
Behind him is the Al-Akkad home where the interior video was taken.
I mean, I think that ultimately they kept bombing and bombing and bombing everything that they could just over and over again. Like in Vietnam, in Cu Chi in Vietnam, if there are photos of it, I don't know, might look like that, but then it was a jungle, I guess. I don't know if there really are photographs of Cu Chi's destruction, because at the end of a bombing run, apparently any US bomber would just fly away, like on the end of its run, would just go and drop whatever it had left on Cu Chi. It wouldn't surprise me if the Israelis literally dropped everything that was on a plane just for the sake of it. Even if there were no targets, they just thought, fuck it, we'll do it because we can. Like the Americans did it not long ago. And like, that's the funny thing. The Americans were really genocidal after Pearl Harbor. You can check their opinions. They were literally like, kill everyone.
Sergeant Moore Yusuf is seen posing in another house with bulldozed land behind him and military vehicles. This one, again posted by Sergeant Moore Yusuf, shows the Leopard platoon with the Sniper platoon. One of their members also posted on social media.
I think also, by the way, like I was looking at commentary, which is like by people who are like, oh, why don't the Muslim community and anti-racist campaigners do more to stand with the Jewish community? First of all of these anti-Semitism marches, the marches against anti-Semitism, have pretty much just been thinly veiled protests for Israel, like very thinly veiled. They normally just display Israeli flags, first of all. But also, very importantly, if you're asking that question of Muslims, how about the question about these guys? You guys, Jewish people, do know, living in the UK, that there are thousands of Jewish people who have served in the Israeli military. We should have a conversation because there are serious war crimes undeniably being committed there. Did you know America basically ended Japan's isolation period in the 1700s? No, I didn't know that.
Sniper Sasha Abramovich is geolocated to the same spot near the Alakat homes, corroborating their claims of snipers operating where their father was killed. 5th Street, where the family used to live, is now unrecognisable. The whole area has been pulverised. All the Alakat family homes have been destroyed, and with them the chance of any forensic assessment of exactly what...
I mean, also, by the way, what has actually just... You know, they talk about language and stuff. Well, the thing is that in Israel, it really is language. It's been these lies to portray Palestinians as the heirs to Nazi anti-Semitism that has worked really well and has long operated in Israeli society to justify anything against Palestinians.
Happened and who might be buried was also destroyed. The survivors are now all living in tents and until recently believed all the relatives who'd stayed behind had been killed. Then they discovered Samar's husband Iyad was actually alive and in an Israeli prison. Her lawyer managed to visit him.
His condition is okay. He's thinner than before. He weighs about 60 kilograms. She told me he's fine, but he's got spots on his body.
So whose body parts were in the destruction of the family homes? And what happened to the two women after they were pictured with the Israeli soldiers?
And I mean, you know what, like... polling in 2024 and 2025 of British Jews do show that the majority think that calling Gaza a genocide constitutes anti-Semitism. I mean, that's literally what most of our political class says. Like, they're like, yeah, it's actually anti-Semitic to say Jewish people are doing it. That's what, like, all of these Jewish community organizations say over and over again, that are apparently like neutral, that are apparently just charities to protect Jewish people. They spend their time conflating any opposition of Israel and calling out its exterminationist crimes as anti-Semitism.
There's no record of the women in any Israeli prison and no record of their deaths.
We've sent all these letters and emails to a range of different commanders and Israeli authorities. We've got just one reply from an official Israeli military WhatsApp account, and an unnamed official replied to us saying that the incident had been referred for review. That was in February. They admitted that the women had been what they called temporarily detained along with others, but they say the women were released soon after in an area further from the troops' operational activity. But the Glan lawyers say that's not good enough.
It's not lawful for the Israeli military to go around detaining people arbitrarily, not keeping any records of why, not keeping any records of for how long, and not...
Which Polanski interview? I mean, British media's just insane. Like, the UK, for all of the ills of Donald Trump... I mean, no, well, I was going to say... But in the UK, the Prime Minister appointed a close friend of a pedophile, who was of the world's most famous pedophile, Jeffrey Epstein, that was known to be a very famous pedophile. And And he appointed him, and that's less of a scandal than anything to do with Polanski. And yeah, the Trevor Phillips one is awful.
Keeping any records of when they were released, let alone not releasing them in circumstances where they're safe.
Thousands of people have gone missing in Gaza since October 2023. A report this March by ISOP and the Palestine Reporting Lab found between 14 to 15,000 people remain unaccounted for.
By the way, I was listening to, I was, for my sins, I was looking at what Lonerbox was up to. He said that that there are no people missing under the rubble and that this claim has been abandoned entirely to his Twitch stream, which is an interesting one.
Lab 2023. A report this March by ISOP and the Palestine Reporting Lab found between 14 to 15,000 people remain unaccounted for. But it can't differentiate between those buried under rubble and those it describes as forcibly disappeared. Gaza's health ministry says that although thousands are still under the rubble, families believe this is not the case for around 3,000 relatives. The ICRC says it has even more reports of missing people still unresolved, between 5,000 and 6,000, with fears that many are being held incommunicado in Israeli detention centres. In many instances, these people were last seen in the custody of Israel.
It is actually mental that Israel has what, like... Is it like 0.5% of the population of Gaza? Just in concentration camps? Like just torturing them?
Israeli troops. The Israeli human rights group Hamaked says it has individually documented 800 such cases. A range of other organisations too have logged high numbers of people who vanished in Gaza after being last seen with Israeli troops, and many fear the high numbers point to a systemic policy.
We know of these hundreds of cases of people that have just disappeared after being held by the Israeli forces inside the Gaza Strip. These numbers and this policy that's been ongoing since the start of the war is clearly not an accident or some upheaval in the first days of the war. It's something systematic and...
Like, I'm sorry. The fact that there are even conversations about what Israeli society is. You know what? Hamas as an organisation compared to Ariel Sharon, even post October the 7th, if you are genuinely of the opinion that Hamas is one of the most, that October the 7th is one of the most barbaric acts in the world, Sharon oversaw and got his soldiers to fire flares in the air so people could go and allegedly rip babies in half in the Sabra and Shatila refugee camps.
Yeah, that's how we can say it's a policy.
Multiple organisations say appeals for information about missing people go unanswered by the Israeli military.
And to be honest, by the way, the lady actually presenting this is surprisingly based.
And the government bodies.
It's also very common, unfortunately, for people to be forcibly disappeared in the context of the ongoing war in Gaza. There's...
Ronald Reagan was referring to the bombing of Beirut, the siege of Beirut, not Sabra and Shatila, sorry. The siege of Beirut was particularly brutal. It was in one day where Israel just massacred 500 people in Lebanon in one singular day.
A significant level of complicity from different levels of the Israeli state and institutions with this practice. It's very difficult to obtain information. And attempts to do this through the legal system have so far mostly failed.
The suffering for the Al-Akkad family is in no way lessening. Like so many thousands of others, they're crying out for answers about what happened to their relatives who just vanished in Gaza. Alex Crawford, Sky News.
There was also another investigation. Hold on, Black Wednesday. Lebanon, Wednesday. There are apparently some investigations. Is it BBC?
Hitler
fell across of the chaos that...
Hold on, I just want to skip until it's not got music on it. I'm just going to say that I'm live, actually, quickly. The Murdoch rag. Yeah, it may be a Murdoch rag, but Alex Crawford is pretty decent. Like, genuinely, Alex Crawford is pretty decent. You can look into her. She's a pretty decent reporter. She's been arguing over, like, what's going on in Lebanon. She's been calling out Israel for mass murdering people. Which is the bare minimum, but she's certainly done pretty well at that. Hello, everyone. Sorry, I had to restart because it just crashed. Hello, everyone. I am live over on YouTube, and we are covering some... No. Hello, everyone. I am live over on YouTube, and we are covering... Oh, my God, why is it being so shitty? Hello, everyone. I am live right now on YouTube, so hop in. We're covering a couple of news items today. We've got apparently there being talks of a ceasefire, the market's declining. Is it yet more lies, or what is going on? Join if you want to find out more. The link's here if you're seeing this on Instagram, or you can or you can just search my name on YouTube or on Twitch. You can search Chris K Live and you'll find me. Oh, my phone's messing up because it's on like 10% charge. Because the battery's cooked because it's got way too much on it. I've got like 30,000... No. Yeah, 30,000 photos on my phone. Have I tried not being British? No, I haven't tried that. It might be a good idea, though.
This is what's left in Hayy al-Sillam. It's a neighborhood in Dahiyeh where Hezbollah holds sway in the south of Beirut. It was once full of life, bustling with people. But on April 8th, as a normal day was unfolding, multiple strikes...
Like, even just looking at Lebanon and, like, this part, where somewhere has been hit by a huge bombardment. Like a massive bombardment. And it just looks nothing like Gaza. And I know it's not been so intensely targeted, but you can kind of see that Israel, you know, intentionally sought to wipe everything out in Gaza.
Landed across the neighborhood.
Did you know as well that the Islamic State destroyed huge amounts of Dahiyeh? They kept bombing it. Really interesting.
Mohammed was raising his children here.
Be careful with the wires, they might have electricity.
I was in Ireland last summer. I probably would go back. I had a great time. I saw one of my friends when he was in Dublin too.
Walks us through the ruins of his home. Careful steps over broken stone, pointing not to what is standing, but what's been taken from him.
أكيد صعب إنه تشوف بيتك هيك.
هذا الثاني.
دمر. ثاني مرة.
ثاني بيت. هذا ثاني بيت. الحرب الماضية راح بيت. هاي الحرب راح بيت. بس يا ريت راح البيت وضل ابني. هذا الحجر بيتعمر. بس الولد وين بنجيبه؟ والحمد لله. بشغلي في حدا دق لي ما بتذكر مين. قالوا يضربوا المبنى هون.
Like, Israel has carried out so many mass murder operations. Can you post a link to this video? Sure. Yeah, sure.
يعني أنا الثلاث طوابق اللي فوق عندي، الثلاث طوابق اللي فوقي صاروا كلهم سوا بقلب غرفة. كله سوا بغرفة واحدة. اللي هني فوقه هو.
Mohammed's son Abbas was the family breadwinner.
لو بعرف 1% إنه عنا حدا هون كنت ما سكنت. كنت ما قعدت. كل اللي راح هون سكان البناية. بس إنه أنا ما ببقى أعرض ابني للخطر إذا في حدا بالبناية أنا معي مستهدف.
Like, how is this normal? It's just reporting on like a mass killing operation by Israel that we just have to report. Also, I have seen the Barack Obama Plaza, by the way. I have seen that. What, in the service station?
ممكن انه انا صار عمري 45 سنه يمكن ما بسال على حالي. بس شاب اول عمره انا ما بحطه هون بقلبي 100 اذا فيها حدا.
Following the death of his son, Mohammed expressed his sympathies for Hezbollah, asking it to defend Lebanon in an interview with local media. That's a sentiment echoed by many people we spoke to in areas that have been consistently attacked by Israel. There were at least 5 strikes that hit Hayya Silom, destroying multiple buildings in seconds. The IDF would not confirm who they were targeting here. But some Israeli media have reported that Ali Mohammed Ghulam Dahini was killed here. He appears in this memorial poster, which describes him as a Hezbollah fighter. While it's unclear who or what was targeted, across Hayya Silom, what's certain is that the civilian death toll was enormous. More than a dozen children were amongst the 80 people
Also, just one Hezbollah fighter?
Reportedly killed. The IDF told us it takes extensive measures to limit civilian casualties and accused Hezbollah of deliberately embedding military infrastructure within civilian areas.
This is a poor and very densely populated area. I mean, if you look around me, you can see just how close all the buildings are to each other. And to get here, we had to go through very narrow roads. It's also the site of the highest number of fatalities in that.
By the way, as well, like, obviously the way in which Israel carries out strikes would basically justify every single operation carried out ever, because pretty much every Israeli is an off-duty soldier.
10 minutes that rocked Lebanon, and it's because the rescue services couldn't get here in time. People were stuck under the rubble, calling out for help, texting for help, and they couldn't reach them.
Just 4 miles away, in the center of Beirut, is Corniche al-Mazraa, one of the city's busiest arteries. A ceasefire between the US, Israel and Iran had just been announced. People hoped that perhaps here too, the violence might pause. But once again, at 2:15 p.m. that day, the streets were full. The steady rhythm of life continued. Business as usual. A training session at a local gym, a restaurant preparing food, a busy supermarket, and a barber mid-cut.
Imagine bro fucks up your fade because the Israelis are bombing. Yet another reason to hate Israel. And by the way, on hantavirus, I don't think it'll be pandemic level. It doesn't transmit as easily at all. And yeah, I think you're probably right. He's Hezbollah. He's a military fighting age. So yeah, he's worthy of death. Yeah. Jesus Christ. It's just insane that this is reality. That Israel gets to do this regularly. Guardians of the Cedar. Like, the US may have been aided and abetted just like a bombing in Lebanon, in Beirut, that killed hundreds of people. So I'm just turning this down because it's really loud. I had a lecturer who was Lebanese, and they left Lebanon and became a lecturer because on the day that they were going to open their restaurant, the Israelis bombed and it shattered all of the windows. And by the way, I don't even know if I like using the term satanic, because this is just what Western-aligned governments do. They just mass kill people. And that's just what they do. It's unfortunately been an aspect of Western imperialism for a very, very long time. Despicably.
Another neighborhood devastated. 16 people were killed here. Those who survived are still picking up the pieces.
حسيت إنه الدنيا صارت سوداء وخلصت.
Noha's gym is on the 7th floor. It's the first time she's been back since the attack.
We're back, inshallah, after 2 days. Inshallah, everything will be fixed.
كنا 5 وقفنا هيك 5. لو ما كنا واقفين هون كنا كلياتنا ما بعرف شو كان صار.
شو هيك؟
American-made weapons paid for with American tax dollars going up to blow up innocent Lebanese people.
ليش ما فينا نعيش بحياة مثلنا مثل بقية هالعالم؟ ليش؟ لأنه لبنان حلو وبدهم إياه؟ مش من حقهم. لبنان حلو لإلنا، مش بدهم إياه بيضربوه.
إيش كان فيه تحت هون؟ إيش برأيك كان الهدف؟
هدف مدني. أكيد مدني. مين مات؟
It's kind of crazy because, by the way, everyone points out the Dahir Doctrine, but you can look at Operation Grapes of Wrath. Listen to this. Grapes of Wrath, which began on April 1996, took a similar path as Operation Accountability in July 1993. Massive bombings of Shiite villages in South Lebanon in order to cause a flow of civilians north towards Beirut, thus applying pressure on Syria and Lebanon to restrain Hezbollah. This is exactly what this was. They're trying to create massive pressure by bombing innocent civilians. That is literally the point of what Israel is doing. Has nothing to do with what Hezbollah is.
مين انجرح ومين اتضرر؟ نحن. أنا ورفقاتي وجيراني واللي بروح بعمل عندها مانيكير واللي بروح بعمل عندها شعري. نحن اللي تضررنا ونحن اللي خسرنا.
The IDF told us they were targeting Hezbollah military infrastructure and command centers that day. In just 10 minutes...
Like, the fact that you can just do this without, like, offering to the world a very detailed explanation of why the fuck you're doing this is insane.
100 bombs were raining down across Lebanon, from Hermel in the far north, across the Bekaa Valley, to towns and cities like Sidon in the south. This is the moment after Al-Zahra complex in Sidon was attacked. Dozens of displaced people were using the center to shelter, shower and pray. It's a religious compound with ties to Hezbollah, with a public mosque at its center. 11 people were killed. We asked the IDF what it was targeting, but it didn't confirm. What we do know is that Al-Zahra's cleric Sheikh Sadiq Nabulsi was killed in the attack. He had deep ideological and family links to Hezbollah, but did not hold an official position within the group. But another man killed here, Mohammed Maani, did. It has also been possible to identify 7 of the other 9 individuals reportedly killed here. All the available evidence suggests they were civilians. Amongst them were Rayyan and Rahma Shu'ab.
It's fucking crazy that they think that is legitimate, that it's like some guy who's just tangentially involved, or not even tangentially, has a role as a liaison and communications officer, and you can kill 9 people alongside him, and that's okay? Psst.
With their parents, Haider and Kokab, they were staying in a tent nearby. Displaced to Sidon from their home, which is around 10 miles from the Israeli border.
المغربي والرسامي وهلا هيدي الشهر هذا بتتخرج وهذه معلمة فيزياء. يعني قد ما تحكي ما بتعرف تعبري.
They came for safety, but their daughters were killed here.
ولد الشيطان راح نورين إن شاء الله. كنت أنا عم بتروق أنا ويانا عادي الطاولة. بعد أذن الظهر قلت يا ماما نروح نصلي بالمجمع. ويا المجمع الزهراء. يعني مضى وقت نص ساعة بعدني قاعدة بعد. مش إلا استهدفت الغارة الإسرائيلية والمجمع الزهراء.
And yeah, you guys are right. It literally just is the crime of being born too close to Israel. Let's have a listen to... by the way, Moshe Dayan was such an evil-looking guy. Just having a fucking eye patch. Literally quintessential evil villain.
To say it in a very clear way, that if we cannot live at peace on our side...
Hold on.
Very clear way, that if we cannot live at peace on our side, then eventually the entire southern part of Lebanon won't be able to live there. Eventually, a good part of Lebanon will be destroyed and deserted.
Like, you have to realize that these ideas always began, and these were the problems that Israel was always gonna face. Is he real? Yeah, this is Moshe Dayan. Moshe Dayan was the Israeli Minister of Defense, or Chief of, Minister of Defense for a very long time, and was like a key military figure in Israel. He's very famous because he's the guy who conquered the West Bank in the Six-Day War. He lost his eye during the Syria-Lebanon campaign. How'd he lose it? I think I had a family member who met him because they were a colonial officer or something in Palestine, like a colonial soldier. I never met this family member, but apparently they used to talk to my dad all the time. They were like, oh, they're like some uncle or something, and they were like, oh, the guy with the eye patch was awful. Because apparently, like, they just hated him specifically. Like, they'd met him, they'd interacted with him in Palestine when they were serving there.
قالوا ضربوا المجمع. قلت لهم جامع ولا مجمع؟ صرت اسال العالم بالمدرسه. قالوا لي المجمع الزهراء. قلت راح نوريا خالص.
Haider and his family are amongst over 1 million people that have been driven from their homes across Lebanon.
بعرفه قلت له تعال طلع اخواتك. قال لي يا بابا خلي اخواتي هون. تيجي انت تضلوا تروحوا طال بس اخواته كل شيء تركوا.
وانتوا راجعين على الجنوب هلا؟
وهلا راجعين ان شاء الله على الجنوب.
Along the road further south to Haider's home, the destruction is constant, testament to what this area has endured. Israel says it's fighting Hezbollah and protecting its northern border, but it has turned entire neighborhoods into ghost towns. Still, Haider makes his way back to find out what's become of his home.
هاي أول مرة ترجع للبيت من حين ما توفوا بناتك.
By the way, can someone in here Arabic who can speak Arabic? Can they tell me like how her accent sounds? It sounds quite weird to me. And yeah, I can read the subtitles. Yes, they have been killed, but I can still feel their presence. I can't put how I feel into words. Do you have children? If you have children, you will know what I mean. She says, I do have children. And then he responds, so you would know how it is impossible to put into words.
He takes us inside. In his daughter's bedroom, everything lay as they left it.
Really? I thought for some reason she kind of didn't sound... thank you for that. She sounds Lebanese. Thank you for that, Master of Disaster 6969. Thanks for that.
أساعدك فيه؟
He shows us Rayan's laptop. And Rahma's notes for exams she will now never sit. His house is still standing, but it's no longer a home. According to the Lebanese Health Ministry, 361 people.
Israel's done unspeakable violations to southern Lebanon is proof they have to continue because they were there to stop. The repercussions would be existential. It's violating norms as a form of social bonding and the same reason for conscription of all of society is culpable. Hammer on there. Not all of Israeli society is conscripted, but you're right that it definitely leads to bonding. My friend actually just published an article in Mondo Vice, which is probably really good. I haven't had a chance to read all of it. I enjoyed the start. It's called "How Modern Psychology is Turning a Genocidal Army into a morally injured one." It's in Mondo Vice, which is Mohammed El Kurd's thing. I think it's Mohammed El Kurd is like significant in it anyway. But it's just about what's going on in Israeli society. Well worth the read, actually.
People were killed on April 8th. Israel dropped around 100 bombs in 10 minutes, calling the operation Eternal Darkness. To the Lebanese people who lived it,
Israelis really just are so comically evil. Like this thing of calling it Eternal Darkness, being commanded for a long time by the most evil looking motherfucker with an eye patch.
It was known as Black Wednesday.
And I know it's absolutely tragic, and there's kind of this thing to think like, there's kind of this thing of thinking like, oh, you must get used to it. No one gets used to this ever. This is just constant, never-ending invasion and mass extermination. By the way, Israel has never really proved this very well, that this is a consistently major practice. Israel just constantly does this. What do you mean, modern psychology? What does that statement even mean? Modern psychology has no agency. Like, even the Lebanese Ministry of Health is saying that, yeah, it's not actually Hezbollah being killed. I will say, even with the sectarianism, people in Lebanon are still helping each other. That doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me. No. Someone said psychology has no agency, which modern psychology has no agency. I don't know what that means. I genuinely don't. Yeah, I would assume, just guessing. What video was that? I think I just linked it. I can link it in both chats. It's a BBC video. I think the article is much more about, because I've read his previous, that's reification fallacy, whitewashing war crimes and treating killers as victims is propaganda, not modern psychology. But the article's not like trying to speak positively about Israel. It's about the growing interaction with the mental health crisis growing in Israel. Because this is, by the way, once again, a thing that is actually happening in Israel. Israel's been suffering with this whole mental health crisis for quite a while. And there's this new term. It's from the 1990s. I thought it was a mistranslation. They call it moral injury, which is basically where Israelis are, it's not PTSD. It's like some distinct thing that I'm not quite exactly sure of, that basically pertains to how you have your moral beliefs shaken to the core from what you did, and you can't return to normal life. And this is a major problem in Israel. They're apparently going to have 100,000 disabled Israeli soldiers, and 50,000 of them are going to have apparently 50,000 of them will have mental health issues. It's also talking about Israeli soldiers who end up offing, and how, like, if they do it in civilian life, Israel kind of sweeps it under the rug and ignores it. Is modern psychology isn't doing anything. Israel is already done. Yeah, but I mean, the problem is that I think done is like what could emerge. Like Israel can't really get much worse. Israel will stay on track as this repugnant country that has been for a very long time. What is worrying about Europe, I will say, is that right now you're seeing many things that led to the rise of fascism. It would be a huge problem. No. It's a huge problem. It doesn't even matter whether they have morals or not. They've committed the crimes. The major issue is you're trying to slot back into civilian life, and it's not really possible. You can't really do it. You have committed heinous crimes. You don't have your friends there to celebrate with you, to have your fun time of the crimes you've done. Instead, you now have to deal with the country, with going back to civilian life. And there have been quite a few Israelis who've ended up, Oh, yeah, you're probably right about that. That there's no hope of it being better. I'm glad to say I won't read that out. I'm not reading that out. To be honest, Israeli conduct is illogical if you believe a Jewish statehood is no origin of 4,000 years of persecution. All action is permitted to preserve the state. You're going to see medieval levels of anti-Semitism. Already Candace Owens is trying to bring up not medieval level. Not even, you wouldn't see, I guess medieval wouldn't be the correct term in the sense of it's probably a reversion to more like Nazi-style anti-Semitism or European-style anti-Semitism of the early 20th, late 19th century. You'll probably see that kind of stuff emerging, which is a horrifying thought as well. Also, military training usually takes more time than the IOF takes to indoctrinate their troops. It's a problem with conscription. Probably, yeah. And also, by the way, making people just enforce your illegal occupation, it's not really congruent with the idea that you're doing like this really moral task. Right. Okay. I also just wanted to show this. This is the head of the Union for Jewish Students in the UK. Let's have a listen to see what he's saying.
Yesterday with the Prime Minister, what was your message to him, and do you think he heard it?
I think so. I mean, to be honest, my message was really to the civil society leaders in the room. I think the big question that's been nagging at me for the past few weeks is, where is the outrage? Where has anti-racist civil society gone? There has been...
Obviously, as I already mentioned, there's a major issue. Already there is this major fucking issue of pro-Israel solidarity is literally solidarity with anti-Semitism is apparently just being pro-Israel. That's what the expectation is.
A stunning silence in the past few weeks from so many groups that you would expect to be standing with the minority community under attack in Britain. And so my message to them was, there's been enough institutional timidity. It's time for real bravery and stand.
I mean, also, by the way, the institutions have done everything in their power to silence criticism of Israel at the complaints of specific Jewish people.
With the Jewish community.
Do you get a sense, far too late, unacceptable as it is, that people are changing their tune in the last week or not? I mean, again, as I say, far too late.
And also, the fact that you're having this conversation with the Prime Minister, there probably should be a realization that, like, Palestinians at universities are just left on their own without any of the, like, mental health support that is needed for people experiencing complex trauma as a result of the state that is arguably being supported and protected by most universities and is most definitely being protected and supported by every government.
Unacceptable as it is there a shift? The very fact that you were in Downing Street yesterday?
I think so. I think yesterday's meeting was the right one. I think bringing those leaders together is crucial. We need a whole society approach. And there have been some really good announcements overnight already in terms of policy changes in the education space.
By the way, the new policies they're going is that UK universities are going to have to crack down and monitor this. Scout the bogus articles that the mainstream with their viewer screens. The rise of anti-Semitic incidents is fabricated, by the way. They count in surveys in which people... I mean, you know what? I don't doubt that there are more people who are, like, on an interpersonal level are saying, like, actually anti-Semitic and mean things to Jewish people. However, there is this major issue, which you are correct about, which is, like, anti-Semitism on UK university campuses and in many other spaces. A lot is to do with Palestine-related stuff. It really is, and a lot of things that are included are not hating Jewish people on the basis of them being Jewish. It's criticising the state of Israel and certain Jewish people taking that as a hate towards them.
Based in the culture space, policing, the CPS. So I think there's been a step change, but we need to see that continuing. Yesterday can't just be a flash.
Wojtnicki, you don't have to, like, spam tag me. Wojtnicki, are you Greg McGregor? No, it's going to be medieval anti-Semitism. People will demand random diaspora Jews condemn Israel, and when they don't do it, it will be used as justification for local pogroms. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure that will be the case. Who knows?
In the pan.
And do you think these changing messages are filtering through, I'm sure it's too early to tell, but filtering through to younger?
And no. You're definitely correct about that as well. It's not institutionalized. It's not an institutionalized thing. There is a worry that maybe that re-emerges but it won't be amongst leftists. And that's the other part. If any of these people really cared about anti-Semitism, they'd shut the hell up about left-wingers and apparent anti-Semitism. Because it's not serious, is it? Left-wingers are advocating for a better world that ends things like racism and bigotry.
People to campuses. Take me back to that balance of, I guess you're alluding to in one of your earlier answers, the sort of peer pressure aspect that dominates.
Yeah, I think that my generation are echo chamber natives, right? We grow up on social media.
On the thing about people trying to return to civilian life, I watched a video recently about how life in Israel actually kind of sucks. There are things that are falling apart. Apparently Tel Aviv's not that nice. Apparently parts of Tel Aviv are kind of crumbling and are quite old. And I'm sure that Israel does have these sort of problems. No doubt Israel has these problems. Definitely Israel has like major issues, and I've not watched his full video. Israel's economy is though definitely set up well not to collapse because it's basically set up for never-ending wars. But that's not specifically what the article's about. The article's much more just about how basically the conduct of the IOF, or his previous articles were, the conduct of the IOF and the problems of the conduct of the IOF actually specifically pertain much more to this reality that Zionism portrays young Jewish men as like awesome heroes, but the reality of serving in it is so different. And yeah, we can just listen to Ethan Klein's opinion of life in Israel.
Media, we live our lives through Instagram and TikTok, and so it's so easy to lose nuance in debate.
I also love this thing about how it's just about losing nuance in debate. Israel is genociding people. There are pro-Israel students on campus who celebrate that genocide, who openly go, I love the Israeli military. I love what they're doing. I would love to go and be part of that. I support everything that Israel does wholeheartedly, and universities protect them.
But actually, we need to learn to live with difference. We're a multicultural society. There are so many different opinions and perspectives, and that needs to be able to be shared without resorting to violence or threat or assault or abuse, as those statistics at the start outlined.
Just and apparently he's mutuals with Hen Mazig and Aviva Klotmas. I mean, this is the thing as well. Louis Danker Instagram. So this guy's mutuals with Hen Mazig, apparently. I mean, he follows like someone who he considers like probably a decent source. Is friends with works for the Israeli government.
Compared Hamas massacre of October 7th to a slave rebellion, and he's being praised for it. Teenage crush vindicated. The Strokes are back in rotation. He gained fans.
This is thank you, Mr. I really think that like you are in a position of morality to talk about this, seeing as you work for, I don't know, the fucking Israeli government.
Because being anti-Semitic is today's shortcut to fame and revamping your failing career. Here's how he did it.
Well, it's been nice having a career with you.
Same. That sentence is the whole trick. He's the martyr before he says anything. So when a Jewish person calls...
I mean, also, by the way, acting as if this isn't a fucking real thing. Acting as if, like, the Canary mission doesn't exist. Obviously, for Julian Casablancas, it's a little different. But the Canary mission literally does work to ruin people's lives for protesting on fucking campus.
Calls it anti-Semitic, they look hysterical, policing free speech. You attack a group, you mark in advance the word for the attack, the hatred is permitted, naming the hatred isn't. Nobody preempts a racist accusation by saying it's been nice having a career. Nobody mocks black Americans for being so obsessed.
By the way, Charlie Kirk, who was like venerated as an American hero, who was almost given a sort of like state funeral in America, was like a Nazi-level racist towards black people. So yes, this is obviously happening in a very different way, and obviously the experience of an average black person is very different to that of the average Jewish person.
With being called slurs. Only us. Because the society has quietly agreed that this particular hatred is acceptable. The kind that you smirk about on a subway. No matter how many bodies...
I like how he was talking about Israel.
...of Jews are piled on the street.
Yes, the bodies of Jewish people piled on the streets. Forgive me, how many Jewish people... I think less Jewish people have been killed since October the 7th than have just been killed in Iran or Lebanon?
And they are piling every day.
American Zionists get the benefits of, white privileged people, but talk like they are black people during slavery.
Casablanca's whole argument needs Jews to be white. My grandmother's family is...
No, it doesn't. No one needs Jewish people to be white. This is all a load of slop. And by the way, something to note here is, if you're actually an Iraqi Jewish person, generally you're better represented amongst like the elite of Israel. Iraqi Jews were deemed as more civilized than other men of Jewish people.
From Iraq, they lived there when it was still Babylon. 850,000 Jews were expelled from Arab and Muslim countries before and after 1948.
And yeah, this is what identity politics looks like. That, like, you can't say anything about Israel because we're Jewish, and once upon a time we were expelled as refugees, and but it's like, well, you do work for the government. You do work for a government that is actively engaged in mass expulsion right now.
Their descendants make up today over half of Israeli Jews.
Like, you just straight up work for a government that does this.
White colonizer is not the word for the Yemenite woman that was airlifted out of Sana'a in 1949.
Now, what did you do? What happened to those Yemeni women from Sana'a? What happened to their babies, mate?
The Ethiopian Jewish father brought out in 1934. It erases them.
I don't know about the DDT pesticides. I think that was more of a thing done to Yemenis, but like the darker skin of a Jewish person, they were deemed basically less civilized. They thought Moroccan, Iranian, particularly Yemeni Jews, Yemeni Jews were really not liked by Ashkenazi Jewish people. I'm watching Jean-Luc Mélenchon live on Twitch on my second monitor, and he could pass off as your dad or grandpa. He even acts like an unk version of you. I like the video of him with the Charizard.
That's what it's for. And it also erases the memory of 6 million Jews who lived in Europe for a few hundred.
How does it erase the history of 6 million Jewish people? Because obviously, yes, that happened, but European society condemns that. In fact, it is one of the few genocides perpetrated by Europeans that is actually condemned. One of the few colonial crimes that is condemned.
Years before they...
And in fact, it is literally set apart from all other colonial crimes so it can be condemned. If you were so obsessed with the experience of Jewish people and anti-Semitism, you'd be talking about the other colonial racism going on in the world. Hitler just turned it inward.
They were slaughtered for not being Aryan, for not being white. And the slave rebellion line...
Slave rebellions that were violent didn't mean that, slavery is not bad.
Take it seriously for 1 second. Who are the slaveholders supposed to be in this analogy? The 364 kids at the Nova Music Festival? The grandmothers in Beirut?
Yes. Yes. Of course they're meant to be. There were probably plenty of nice-ish people who were involved in slavery, of just average-ish people.
Ariel Bibas, the 4-year-old kid, or Kfir Bibas, the 9-month-old baby that were taken alive and murdered in captivity. If those are the slaveholders in your analogy, name them. Say it out loud. Nobody will, because the analogy only works when it stays vague. And while Julian...
No, it doesn't. I'm sure that Native Americans, I'm sure that slaves rebelling carried out things that would constitute war crimes and repugnant actions that people would be like, yeah, that wasn't like an awesome part of it. However, his point still exactly stands. His exact point stands.
Casablanca's smirks on a subway. Here's the real world. Nearly 70%.
Your country, by the way, elected someone who mass murdered people in Lebanon and gleefully enabled a mass murder of just innocent civilians who, unlike on October the 7th, did not fight back at all. There was no military figures. Israel just Israel fired flares in the air whilst they mass murdered them. His own government found the guy to be guilty and complicit in the crimes of the guilty and complicit in the crimes of the of Sabra and Shatila, but yet he was still elected by Israelis.
% of religious hate crimes in the US target Jews. Casablancas opened his clip with, "It's been nice having a career with you." His career is bigger today than it was last week. The career...
Also, I don't think that's true at all. I really don't think that that's true.
...is always safe. The people he was talking about are not. Julian...
Yeah, Israelis really aren't safe, mate. I'm sure he's posting great stuff.
A man ran down a road in London with a knife today.
You can't be...
Fantastic, thank you. La Boubou. Harriet Tubman capped slave owners on the wreck. XD. Thanks for the $2. Has there ever been a Zionist leadership that wasn't in some way connected to a Jewish supremacist terror group? I don't know about Lapid. I don't know. I actually don't know. I don't know if that's the case. Also, the Nuremberg trials aren't like a great example. The Nuremberg trials suck in one way, which is that they individualized crimes of a state, and you can look into the history of the Nuremberg trials. It wasn't really that great. It wasn't. Okay, right. Let's do a little bit about what's going on with Iran. Yeah, and the guy didn't kill anyone.
La Boubou.
Your laugh there reminded me of Carlson. Hey, Mama, thank you for the £2 donation. I'd probably rather not remind you of Tucker Carlson. I did see, actually, his recent clip was interesting. One of the comments in Hen's video said that you should go on, that Kareem and the subway takes have to answer for this one, as if Kareem gives a shit what an Israeli thinks. He's Egyptian. He'll forever be angry at Israel. No. He has to answer to Hen Mazik. Who doesn't have to answer to Hen Mazik? Did any of you see the Tucker Carlson Someone described the way in which the political establishment and media elite have behaved over the last 2 years, have created like a runway the size of a fucking canyon for people like Tucker Carlson to seem morally superior in. And this is just a perfect example of it.
Who do you think is more morally repulsive, Ted Cruz or
Who
Nick
do you
Fuentes?
think is more morally repulsive?
Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz is a sitting U.S. senator who has called for the killing of people who did nothing wrong, whole populations who advocated for this war. Nick Fuentes is like a kid. He's like 26 or 7. He has no power except his...
I mean, you know what? One thing I will say is, obviously, I don't really think that you should offer Nick Fuentes anything like this amount of sympathy. I feel like this is very sympathetic. I saw a clip of Nick Fuentes saying that America has become N-word hell the other day, and I'd prefer that a man like that, who does have a platform to say things to a considerable amount of people, did not have a platform. But here he is obviously correct. Ted Cruz is the more morally repugnant individual. It's not even a competition at all. Not even a competition at all with the power that he holds.
Words. Here you have a public official who we pay, who has actual power, who's voting for things, who's making policy decisions, and those decisions would
get in the sneak 6-7.
include, in fact, they are focused on the murder of people who did nothing wrong, and yet no one thinks it's a big deal.
And I don't know if Tucker is more moral. I'd say that both of these people are pretty morally repugnant. For pretty similar reasons as well. Obviously, like saying Tucker is just like not morally repugnant is quite something, because Tucker is someone who has said plenty of morally repugnant things. You can look into his past, plenty of morally repugnant things. And when he's talking about other things. And yeah, Nick Fuentes is an actual Holocaust denier. Although, has he cooled off on that stuff because he's trying to get himself a bit better positioned? But like, yeah, both of these people are morally repugnant for the same reason. Just because he's a bit less morally repugnant on Palestine, I'm sure she manages to clear him on things like women's issues, maybe.
Fine. I mean, if there's tape of Nick Fuentes saying we should kill people because we hate their parents, or it's okay to kill children, I would love to see the tape, because that's disgusting. And that's basically what the entire U.S. Senate does every single day, and no one notices. Nick Fuentes said something naughty that I disagreed with. He made fun of things that I don't think I would never make fun of them.
He's a white nationalist who's denied the Holocaust. And what I will say,
okay,
from
but
my
is that worse than killing kids?
From my understanding,
the fact that she as well can't answer this, the fact that there is a hard truth lying in here, that, yeah, like, Nick Fuentes is definitely someone who, you know, fuck Nick Fuentes, fuck all of these people, but, you know, obviously he is worse.
Of my own, you know, I was just in Germany recently, and, you know, it was such a good reminder that the Holocaust didn't start with the gassing of Jews. It started with the dehumanization of Jews. It was language that was used. And again, that is what it concerns.
You literally have a government who spread lies about Palestinians. Why are you going to Germany and thinking that you've made some major realization? What is this? Like, you've gone to Germany and you've supposedly come to that brilliant revolution. You can look at your own ridiculous history in America.
Agree.
And okay, I understand that you didn't say that he wasn't morally repugnant, but I would say he's probably just only on this topic he would probably be slightly less, a lot less morally repugnant than her. On most general topics, he is a very repugnant individual.
More, and that's why when you have a U.S. senator, a member of Congress, a U.S. ambassador waving away civilian deaths as if they don't matter, that's the language of genocide, which results, and this is the lesson of the Holocaust, in genocide itself. And it has. So the lesson for me, really...
Yeah, I did see I saw some Chinese guy responding to a German on TikTok, and the German guy was like, "Oh, you have no free speech in China," and he was like, "Okay, you go to the center of Berlin and you say Israel is committing genocide. You say Israel is carrying out a second Holocaust, and tell me about my free speech then, mate.
Watching all of this is that this can happen in civilized countries. In all human beings, there is the capacity to ignore the evil right in front of you. And my point is, it's happening right now. And my job, to the extent I have one, I don't really have a job, but I just want to remind people that we're all capable of that, including me, and that we're watching it right now. And if you think that Nick Fuentes is a greater threat to other human beings than Ted Cruz, I would love to know how.
I can imagine people hearing this and thinking you are soft-pedaling Nick Fuentes. You are apologizing for Nick Fuentes.
I'm hardly soft-pedaling Nick Fuentes. I'm trying to awaken people to
This is actually quite interesting. I didn't watch
killing
the
of
full thing.
innocents in our midst, which we are not only encouraged to ignore, but really told to ignore on pain of being denounced. And I'm just saying, no, I'm not doing that.
Oh my God, this is an hour 15. Oh. Okay, there's a 9-minute clip on Israel, which I might watch.
One
from
of the
this.
reasons why this was particularly notable for many people, that interaction that you had with Mike Huckabee, and the reason you in particular got so much pushback is because there is an enormous sensitivity around Israel being the homeland of the Jewish people and the attempt to delegitimize that.
And yeah, I do worry about this. I do worry about like all of these fucking Charlie Kirk conspiracies, because I think the point is to just spread some insane stuff to basically make people feel like the Republican Party wasn't complicit in the genocide of Palestinians, that it was just Trump, that it was just the people around him, so he can run to set up something a little different, which will end up not changing at all.
I have enormous sensitivity about the United States being the homeland of my people and the burial place of my ancestors. I have enormous sensitivity.
And once again, by the way, I think I just have such little sympathy for like fucking American right-wingers who pretend to care about Palestine when they don't give a shit about their own colonial history.
About the future of the United States. Those are my concerns. I'm not dismissing the concerns of any other group, including Israelis or Iranians or Venezuelans or anybody else. Everybody has his or her own set of concerns, but my concerns revolve around my country. And so I'm not going to subordinate my concerns and the concerns of my children to other people's hysteria, no matter what country it is.
Why do you think
I mean, to be fair, it was pretty mental watching how many... I'm sure you guys saw this. There's another one of those fucking protests outside of a synagogue, which we must condemn because you can't protest against a synagogue. Look, they might be selling Palestinian land in illegally occupied territories, but that is not okay. You cannot do that. You can never go near a synagogue. And by the way, you know in the UK, that they're like... The synagogue that apparently people had gone near at a Palestine protest that made them need to be banned is because the protest is that it was like that it was a third of a kilometer away. It's just insane. But like you look at America and they're just mobilizing like the whole NYPD to just to protect Jewish people doing illegal land sales. Like what is this?
Get tagged.
Like, I'm sorry, it's a violation of international law. People are angry.
So often with anti-Semitism.
Because I think there are two reasons. One is I'm not an anti-Semite, and I think that's obvious. I've expressed this many times, and I'll do so again. I have temperamental and religious objections to anti-Semitism or any hate or discrimination.
What would be the religious objection to anti-Semitism? I feel like historically Christians are kind of liked anti-Semitism just a little bit. But I don't know, maybe he's talking about his updated theology. Shit, I've just spilled water on my keyboard. Is that fine? That's probably fine, I don't care.
Based on bloodline. That is against Christian theology. It's against my personal ethics, and I oppose it no matter who is suffering from it, whether it's whites or blacks or Jews. Nobody can be punished for his bloodline, period. I don't believe in collective punishment, unlike the Israeli government. So that's number one. I am opposed to
By the way, there's also someone kept pointing out in an interview that Tucker Carlson. Wait, let me see if I can find this. This was really great. Here you go. These two people were having a discussion. Increasingly coming to the conclusion that Carlson's beatdown of both The Economist and NYT interviewers is less because of any independent skill set he possesses, which he clearly does, and more because these interviewers make themselves look ridiculous on the first principle by refusing to condemn the murder of Palestinians. Carlson literally at one point in The Economist interview says that Western civilization doesn't believe in collective punishment, a total abject lie, but that barely filters through because the interviewer is a totally ridiculous person who can't bring herself to say some very basic things about Palestine that Carlson can. Like, he's pretty libbed out on Palestine. Oh, I'm not shit. Oh, shut up, Godzilla McGee. Oh, shake your keyboard, blah, 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 blah. I love spilling water on this keyboard. What's it going to do? Fuck up the RGB? Wah, wah. No, thank you. I'm just going to leave it. It'll be fine. I reckon there are more Christian Zionists than Jewish at this point. Of course there are. Israel spends tons of money on this as well. There are tons of... Israel runs like a network of Christian propagandists on the internet. Carlson literally at one point... That is crazy, by the way, as well. That he's just like Western... This is kind of what I worry about and what I was trying to get at. Like, why this stuff matters is these people are using this to whitewash colonial history, to whitewash the American empire, to whitewash the Republican Party, to whitewash anti-Semitism, and to basically just be like, yep, there's this big other, it's Israel and the Jews, and Israel and the Jews do the bad things. The European empires and Western empires are actually good. And you know the stuff with the Native Americans, what was that? I don't know. And that's the thing that I don't like. I really want people to think about Israel existing in the context of Israeli settler colonialism, Bar so low as demonstrated in the interview. They know people eat this shit up because for so many it's about owning conservatives as much as it is for... He is lived up on Palestine. I mean, like, in terms of, like, people see him as, like, oh, this pro-Palestine guy. But he's, like, a two-stater. He's like, oh, I love Israel. I love Israel. I love Israel. And the New York Times interviewer is even worse. Smug, condescending, totally unable to look at what Carlson says about, say, Ted Cruz vis-a-vis Iran and make any coherent response. This is the logical kernel of Carlson's anti-Semitism, and it proves Edward Said's point. This was the fantastic thing, that Orientalism is the strange secret sharer of Western anti-Semitism. The barbarism of modern warfare is displaced onto the Jewish East to exculpate the Christian West. Whoever wrote this guy was typing fire when he was fucking typing. This is a goated comment. This is like a great tweet. This is really, really, really so true. It's just absolutely true, and I think it gets at kind of what I've been trying to reiterate, that it is about exculpating the Christian West from barbarism, that these people really want to say that, like, this is a thing unique to Israel. On the one hand, I agree with you that Carlson is suspiciously quick to pretend that Western civilization is innocent. On the other hand, Israel is really pushing the envelope on the barbarism of modern warfare, and they're doing so of their own volition for their own benefit. I mean, I do understand this point as well, but I think I agree with this other guy slightly more, because, this second bit is true, this second bit is good, but I know why Carlson is doing it. Like, this guy, Petty's different. I know he's a bit of a conservative, but obviously he's like a more of a thinking individual. And this part is true, that Israel does engage in really barbaric practices that really sit apart from most, even the conduct of the Americans in recent years. Like, America did very repugnant... Well, no, America killed 1 million people in Iraq, so kind of fuck that. But I guess it's just what Israel is doing in terms of how kind of, like, widespread and so, like, obvious the cruelty is. Like, what's his name? Ben Robert Smith is obviously someone who deserves to be in prison, make no mistake, and I carry no water for him. But Ben Robert Smith is just, like, average Israeli soldier, you know? and videos, and there are videos of them all doing it that are released to the Israeli public. There are Israeli soldiers who literally did sexual violence against Palestinians on camera, and Israeli politicians said they were fucking heroes and that they had every right to do that. So I gotta do dry dishes. Don't say anything interesting for a while, please. I gotta go, oh mate, fuck drying the dishes. Just leave them out on the side. Why are you drying the dishes? Just put them out on the side. Fuck, bro. You need to listen. I can't afford to lose another viewer, man. Having watched the dude for over a decade, I do not believe he is sincere. I think he is reading the room and playing it perfectly to gain the trust of a lot of Americans. He openly pushes the Great Replacement theory. Yeah, I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that either. Tucker is just a right-winger who is sincerely repulsed by the actions of the Israelis. The left can't compute a right-wing guy not motivated by anti-Semitism for this. No, I think that there are right-wingers. I think people like Theo Von is like a right-winger, and I don't think he's really motivated by anti-Semitism. I don't know that much. I don't know if Tucker Carlson pushes the anti-Semitic version of the Great Replacement theory. I do think he is like a major bigot. But when it comes to Candace Owens, I genuinely think Candace Owens is a really repugnant anti-Semite. Like, Candace Owens is really, really anti-Semitic, straight up. I don't know enough. I've not seen Tucker Carlson be as anti-Semitic, but Candace Owens, yes, she's very, very, very fucking anti-Semitic. Always has been. And it's kind of the thing of, once again, they don't care about anti-Semitism because Ben Shapiro used to host her when she was way, way more openly anti-Semitic. You wiping bloody cotton fibers all over your dishes. Preach.
Semitism.
And a drying rack's fine, as long as you don't live in a house with loads of people who are like, oh, I'm going to put my dishes in the drying rack. No, you're not. That's where mine go.
And that's a threat, because I'm not approaching this as someone who wants to hurt Jews. I just don't want the United States to be implicated in the crimes of other nations. And I'm not intimidated. And number two, that is a much easier...
Well, the funny thing about the Great Replacement theory is it's not always anti-Semitic. It just does devolve into anti-Semitism a lot. Like, Viktor Orban would sometimes just be like, George Soros has brought over refugees and stuff, and that's why we have so many immigrants. That's George Soros. And you're kind of talking about anti-Semitism there in the sense of it's like blaming one Jewish guy for refugees coming over. But when it comes to just generally, it's just a pretty racist thing. Or a lot of people use it in a racist way because they're like, these people will never integrate into my culture.
Conversation, then answering very simple questions like, where does the right to exist come from that Israel has, that I've been told for many years has a unique right globally to exist? Where does that right emanate from? Who granted that right and on what grounds? And they can't answer the questions, and they don't want to have the conversation. So just to be totally clear.
What's wrong with just eating out of your hands? Because basically what's wrong with eating out of your hands is because it's like, oh, you can only use one hand and you can't just go get your hands all in it. You've only got to eat with one hand, and it's too civilized, you know. If they're, well, actually, you know what? Burgers. That's why the burger race might have been right all along. That maybe it was right to force American culture on everyone because you get to eat burgers with your hands. And then there's no more plates, there's no more discussions of drying or, yeah. Elon bitches about Soros too. Oh my gosh. The Great Replacement is a product of decadent, socially liberal society. He doesn't think it's Jews. He thinks it's libs. Interesting.
Asking questions is not hate. Telling the truth is not hate. And they don't want to answer the questions, and they don't want to tell the truth. And by the way, it's not just Jews. I think I've been attacked more viciously by Christian Zionists than I have by Jews, just in point of fact. It's a kind of nice universalism to it. But I'm not intimidated. I don't know why I would be. In fact, I think it's my obligation not to be intimidated.
Can asking questions...
What on earth? Hello?
In fact, I think it's my obligation not to be intimidated.
Can asking questions, though, stir up hate? I mean, language is powerful.
Well,
no, I'm not an only child. Burger night, sure. Yes. It's burger night altar. Every night is burger night.
Sure. I mean, you could pose attacks in the form of questions. I've certainly done that a lot, for sure. But the questions themselves hang in the air, and a legitimate question deserves an answer.
The reason I want to press on this a little bit more is that you know that there is an entire anti-Semitic worldview that has been based on the protocols of the Elders of Zion, you know, that there is like this cabal of powerful Jews that controls the world. And, you know, that book was written in the early...
I will say, I have been thinking over the last few days, you know what governments could do to help address this? Maybe if we had a bit of a conversation, really, about who Jeffrey Epstein was, and a lot more transparency about what he did, what his relations were with certain governments, who in certain governments hung around him. I think we should have a conversation about that, because it would rob people who are like, yep, Epstein did everything related to Israel. Because, like, I don't doubt Epstein actually did some things related to Israel that are actually really interesting. Once again, if you want to read it, read Dropsite's reporting. But, it is a bit of a leap in terms of what Tucker has been talking about. At what point are the protocols just irrelevant? I mean, of course, one lady did tell me to read it, so maybe they're not irrelevant.
The 20th century, but it, you know, helped the Nazis, and it really has informed a lot of the views of many people today that there is, you know, this very powerful...
The Nazis were just racist with a specific conception of Jewish people in their racial ideology. They were colonial racists. There have been plenty other colonial racists. Epstein was real. Epstein was real. He was best friends with a former Israeli prime minister. He was also very close to the American government. The man in power for a very long time, who literally had parts of the files redacted to cover his ass. What was his relationship? Does Jeffrey Epstein have a relationship to the Iran war? Probably not. Was it a distraction from the Epstein files? Probably not. But we're not having any conversations about him because it's injurious to power, because basically across the political spectrum, a lot of people were hanging out with this very weird guy who was a convicted fucking pedophile.
Powerful sect of Jewish people who want global war and global conflict. And I think that there is a concern that
Once again, as I've said, I don't believe that the Epstein files are actually the driving factor. I don't believe that Epstein files are the driving factor in, you know, in the Iran war. I think at this point it's more just funny to say than it is actually a reality. But like, you can see why people reach that conclusion, right?
And a real concern. I don't mean this as something that people say to slander anyone, but just a real concern that the rhetoric where everything is blamed on Israel, where Israel has these supernatural powers almost to influence the president, to influence...
I mean, once again, your outlet did release an article that was basically about how Netanyahu went and twerked for Trump and was like, Daddy, watch me twirl, Daddy, watch me twirl, Daddy. And he was like telling him about how you should bomb Iran and it'll make you the greatest hero. So like your article, your outlet did publish that. Actually hold up their own laws, but no, I have to see people go, Epstein, I knew it was them. I wish mostly that the victims see justice. Yeah, definitely. There are hundreds of people who've been robbed of justice for years by a depraved sex offender who's in power in America who arrested him.
The previous president, George W. Bush, to enter into the Iraq War, to, you know, be involved in assassinations, etc., that it has echoes of that, and that people are...
Yeah, I suppose once upon a time, anti-Semitism kind of operated in that way to, like, stop discussions of class. And it still kind of does, you're right, in both ways, that it has, like, a dialectical way of, like, for a lot of right-wingers, there are some that rather than reacting to capitalism being a broken system, they're like, Jewish people have ruined everything. These forever wars, these perma-crises that we're constantly facing must be Jewish people, rather than facing the fact that it is a system that just doesn't actually... doesn't actually work. And when it comes to a lot of people don't want to talk about, I guess most leftists who are critiquing capital are like more than happy to talk about class. But what's Parenti saying? Parenti explains well how they use fear of being accidentally anti-Semitic, propagating. Yeah, and I do think that being accidentally anti-Semitic is a way to stifle discussion of Palestine. Like, you have to be so careful, and especially people who have, like, big platforms and, you know, like, this isn't guaranteed to work forever for me as a job, you know? Like, I'm not getting paid millions of pounds from doing this, or, like, considerable amounts where I'm sorted for the rest of my life. And so you have to be very fucking careful about how we talk about this. Apparently Japanese intellectuals in the 20th century read the protocols of, and then also started reading the Torah thinking it would give them magical money powers or something. Sort of the inverse of the US entrepreneurs reading Sun Tzu. You know, Winston Churchill thought that they should ally with the Jewish people in part because they were so... Well, maybe that wasn't actually Churchill, but some of the early... I think it was actually Lloyd George. Lloyd George thought we should have allied with the Zionists because they had such power.
Genuinely concerned that it opens the door to this idea that has been debunked and has been used in, you know, absolutely vicious ways to annihilate an entire people.
I'm not quite sure what that means. Let me tell you my concerns. My main concern is the destruction of the United States.
Bro, that's why I hate Iran. They bombed Qatar and the Ras Laffan gas field, and ever since then, the Qatari oil money is gone. I'm cooked.
States, and that is in no way to minimize anyone else's concerns, but I have a right to that concern, and I will not have my own concerns hijacked. I will not submit to being told what my concerns should be. I'm an adult man who pays his taxes. I have a right to come up with my own hierarchy of concern. And at the very top is the destruction of my country, which I've lived in for 56 years.
Do you know the actual reason that Tucker Carlson was is treated this way? Is because when he was there, he was asking the questions of the people you're not allowed to talk about. That's why Tucker Carlson is maligned in this way. The M&Ms. And he was talking about when the green M&M got her boots back. And that really mattered. When the green M&M got her boots back and they made her less sexy, they didn't want that being spoken about live on air. Oh, wow, that did trigger something. Lemon Mint Cat, thank you for the burger. Angel Scott, I'm $2 closer to my first milli. Wow. That is true, you know, every little helps. I am $2 closer to my first milli, and I thank you for that. I thank you very much for that. Yeah, thank you both. Thank you, Lemon, and thank you, money from the burger rice. Yeah, that's how I pay my taxes. I just write from the burger rice.
And I know that it's not better than it was.
Yeah, angel investor. Yeah, I do think when the M&Ms stopped being sexy that it kind of sucked.
Finally tonight, we don't usually give story tips to NPR, but here's a story they might want to cover pretty soon and doubtless will. M&M's, the candy company, has just announced that it's redesigning its cartoon characters to be more gender inclusive.
To be fair, you know what? I feel like there is a point here of this is just insane. Like, obviously, Tucker Carlson was a moron who ran a moronic show for a very long time, but the fact that they were, like, redesigning M&M's to be gender inclusive is just, like, mental. Like, making them sexy, yeah, that's fucking sick.
Bet you didn't think...
Yeah, a brown M&M looks hot.
M&Ms were pushing intolerance, but they were. They've been changed. You're seeing the changes right now on your screen. The green M&M, you will notice, is no longer wearing sexy boots. Now she's wearing sensible sneakers. Why the change? Well, according to M&M's, quote,
I mean, when she had the heel boots, yeah, green was a 10. I'd hit, but when she got the sneakers, it's too sensible. She's no risk to it, you know.
we all win when we see more women in leading roles, because leading women do not wear sexy boots. Leading women wear frumpy shoes. The frumpier.
Frumpy shoes. How did they make this one less sexy? La Boo Boo. I've told the chat about this, but Tucker actually treated the crew on his show pretty well. I think he bought pizza for them on Friday. Wow. Wow. Fair play. Fair play to Tucker Carlson. I'm surprised by that. Sophie, thank you for the insider information. Chris, have some Saudi oil money as a compensation, dude. Dude, you guys got it flowing. You're going to be sending that shit out to the West. So I'm expecting the big flows in. Now Raz Lafan is offline. I better be seeing the flows coming out of Saudi Arabia.
Better. That's the rule. The other big change.
Well, do you think they've made Brown a baddie? Because they kind of just flipped her around. They just rotated her, no? I mean, like, yeah, she's laying still, but I don't know.
Is that the brown M&M has, quote, transitioned from high stilettos to lower block heels. Also less sexy. That's progress. M&Ms will not be satisfied until every last cartoon.
And I think woke Neekskit, you're maybe actually correct about the anti-Semitism of Tucker. I've heard less out of Tucker, and that's not me just trying to agree with you. I think you're probably right. I've heard less direct as opposed to fucking just straight up like endorsements of Hitlerian racism out of the mouth of both Candace and Elon. Alex Jones, I don't even know what Alex Jones is on.
Character is deeply unappealing and totally androgynous. Until the moment you wouldn't want to have a drink with any one of them. That's the goal. When you're totally turned off, we've achieved equity. They've won. Meanwhile, in a nod to the...
Yeah, I mean, that is what equity looks like when you don't want to fuck the M&Ms. Preach.
Burgeoning wellness movement, the orange M&M will, quote, acknowledge and embrace his anxiety. And actually, if you look at him,
you know what? I'm gonna say it. Tucker Carlson was right for all of the wrong reasons. Like, talking about wanting to fuck the M&Ms is insane, to say the least. But like the fact that they're like, we're acknowledging anxiety through through M&Ms. This is the kind of therapy speak that is the like lifeblood of fucking Hen Mazeeg, where he's like saying absolute rubbish. Or Israeli Twitter accounts that are like for the Israeli military, and they're like just insane stuff.
Orange M&M does appear very anxious. Maybe he doesn't like all the ugly new shoes he sees around him. Maybe he liked the sexy boots. Maybe the orange M&M is a secret sexist himself. We don't know. We're going to let NPR get to the bottom of that.
Oh, whoops.
Woke M&Ms have returned. The green M&M got her boots back, but apparently is now a lesbian, maybe. And there's also a plus-sized, obese purple M&M. So we're going to cover that, of course, because that's what we do. Woke M&M.
I mean, yeah, I'm not going to lie. You know what? The funny thing is I guess it was always insane. Fox News is insane. We realized the mistake we made with the green M&M, and as a result, we are giving her go-go boots back and giving her a pair of breasts. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Yeah, why is Trump not fucking talking about this shit? What's Trump doing? Equity means no sex. Preach. That is exactly what I agree with. And yeah, I like the sexy boots. I ain't gonna lie.
And it's not getting better than it was. And there are many reasons for that. One of them is this war, but there are many others. And so people say, well, I'm really concerned. Well, I'm really concerned too. I'm really concerned that the Prime Minister of Israel and his many cheerleaders in American media, including at the New York Times, if I can say, pushed the U.S. government into a war that hurts the United States. That's my concern.
Like, if Tucker was maybe smarter or like better equipped for this, I mean, maybe he's a smart enough guy. If he was better equipped for this, he should have gone in and said, you literally published an article about how Netanyahu convinced the US, played a role in convincing the US government to go to war with Israel. Do you not see how that reinforces the notion that the tail wags the dog?
And I would say that's at least co-equal with anyone else's concerns. So that's the first thing I would say. Second, as to the elders of Zion or whatever. Yeah, I don't know what that is. I've heard references to it. It's like a czarist forgery or something. Look,
I guess I'm just wondering.
Tsarist forgery. Like, yeah, I would say it's kind of like, I don't know, does Nick Fuentes or like a sort of high-level anti-Semite even quote the elders of the protocols of the elders of Zion?
What the line is for you.
The line for me is the truth. What is actually happening?
Between criticism, I mean, this is, by the way, a very difficult line. I am in no means purporting to understand necessarily where it is. I'm curious for you where the line is between criticism of the state of Israel.
Yeah, when they kept putting out fucking Marco Rubio because they seemingly don't have any spokesman, and Marco Rubio was just like, when they were just like, when they were just came out and they were like, when they came out and they were basically just like, oh shit, sorry, I've forgotten. I was just looking at a photo of Kyle Rittenhouse with a bra edited onto him.
Israel, and how that could be perceived as feeding into anti-Semitism.
Well, it breaks my heart that it is perceived that way, and that's the product. That perception is the product of a decades-long effort to conflate anti-Semitism with any criticism of the secular government of Israel. Okay, so the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism lists 11 examples of anti-Semitism, and that's been adopted globally. 40 different governments have adopted it as their standard of what anti-Semitism is, and 2/3 of the examples are criticism of Israel. So, I don't get to write these standards. I also don't have to abide by them.
God, do you remember when that fucking Hutch, the simpleton, was like, yep, this is great.
And I reject, as ludicrous, out of hand, the idea that the criticism of a secular government is the same as criticism of an entire ethnic group, many of whom do not support that secular government, many of whom reject that secular government, and a lot of those I know personally. So you're just not going to get me on board with the lie that criticism of Netanyahu is hatred of all Jews, because it's not. And I don't care.
You want to see... no, I'm not showing a photo of Kyle Rittenhouse wearing a bra. It's not real. I don't know if I can show an AI photo of him wearing a bra. He's got really big breasts in it. He was bitten by a brown recluse spider.
How many times someone repeats that to me, I don't care. And by the way, I've lost friends over this, and I do grieve that. People who are totally convinced that criticism...
Is it just Bibi that you're against, or if there was a different government in Israel, it
I'm
would be okay?
I'm against anything that hurts my country. Why wouldn't I be? I live here.
No, but I'm just curious, like if there's elections coming up and if Bibi gets kicked out, are you...
I took my family on vacation there.
I'm just trying to understand.
Obviously, I'm not against Israel. I never have been against. By the way, you can check the record. Before maybe 2.5 years ago, I don't think I ever... Well, I certainly never criticized Israel, but I rarely even mentioned Israel. I could give you a long list of the things that I love about Israel, particularly about Jerusalem, which is one of my favorite cities. Jerusalem and Beirut, greatest cities in the world. It kills me to see them at the center of all of this. I think the second that we ban criticism of a foreign...
Hutch is a fucking simpleton, mate. Hutch is like one of the stupidest guys going.
...country... Well, of course, we're not free at that point. We're slaves of that other country. Whatever you can't criticize is the force in charge. I don't think it's, by the way, good for global Jewry to have any of this at all. If you tell 350 million Americans that it's against the law, and it's very close to against the law at this point, it's against the law to criticize Israel, how does that help the perception? Does that feed anti-Semitism? I think it does. Not as my job to monitor or regulate this stuff, but I mean, just common sense would tell you that's not good. If you want to make the case on behalf of anything, any idea, including ones I disagree with, make your case. Tell me why it's...
Naftali Bennett, by the way, also just doesn't believe that Israel should give up any land to its enemies, by which he means the Palestinians.
It's a good idea. And we're falling out of that habit and instead trying to hurt people who disagree with us. And I just will always reject that. I guess I'm the liberal.
I would say it's not exactly against the law, but I understand you're
someone was
referring to
someone was just arrested. Because look, the
specific things that
well, the second you say that criticism is the same as a threat or words or violence, then of course it's very easy to to arrest people, as they are arrested in Great Britain. They've had hundreds of people arrested in Great Britain for criticizing Israel. I don't know why.
Jules, I can't believe you've just done that. You've just said, I type Bibi sometimes because I can never remember if it's Netanyahu or Netanyahu. Now I'm not sure which one it is, even though I feel like I've never had that issue before.
Any liberal-minded, and I'm in that group, liberal-minded.
It's with an A, I'm going to check.
You have a right to your views, I have a right to mine. I don't know why any liberal-minded person will go along with this and not say, whoa, 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 this is totally bonkers, and this is the road to totalitarianism. And I would say that about any topic.
I mean, this is what I'm going to need to watch. Ex-military colonel on Charlie Kirk's assassination. Yes, please. No, I'm kind of done with this.
Who do you think is more...
Tucker Carlson. You wanted me to look at something that's in the Discord. Hold on. There was a couple of things, weren't there, over the last few days. What's this image? Oh, no, Discord's not working right now. I will look at it. I will get round to looking at it. Don't you worry. A Nazi. Yes, AN. Well done. That's a good way to remember it. Fuck Netanyahu. And you're right about the Bibi thing. I sometimes do it. Yeah, the Discord just does this where I can't reopen it. God. Sorry, I clicked on a Hutchfog because there was one where he was watching. There was watching something of mine and Isaac's, and there's all these people commenting, Pisco is not an ally. In his video called I Confronted Taylor Lorenz, and it was wild. Okay, right, let's do a bit of the Iran stuff, because by the way, in case you hadn't heard, Trump has now cancelled his awesome operation that started a day ago and is really successful.
Announced the operation to help commercial ships sail through the Strait of Hormuz will be paused less than 48 hours after it began. He said it's because there's been progress toward a deal with Iran and wrote on social media, "We have mutually agreed that while the blockade will remain in full force and effect, Project Freedom will be paused for a short period of time to see whether or not the agreement can be finalised and signed."
I can't believe this. Like trying to kind of work this out and trying to work out what's going on. When one day after this new special operation is announced, Trump cancels it, is making things wonderful.
The president's post comes just hours after his Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, said the initial US-Israeli offensive in Iran was over.
By the way, that Stephen Chung guy looks crazy.
With all its objectives achieved. That's despite Iran continuing to threaten navigation in the Strait of Hormuz and the US still hoping to negotiate an end to the Iranian nuclear program. Mr. Rubio spent about 50 minutes answering...
God, Rubio looks repugnant as well.
Questions from the media. Let's get more on what he had to say from our North America correspondent, David Willis. Hello, David. So he got quite a grilling. Talk us through it.
I don't like this guy. He's too kind of monochrome. His outfit, his hair's grey, silver. His teeth are kind of silver. His tie's silver. His shirt's white, and his suit's silver. I don't like that. And I don't really know much about that Pisco guy. He seems better than the rest of them and less idiotic, but I still don't know.
Yes, he did, Sally. He answered questions for quite some time in the White House press briefing room, and he announced, most crucially, the end of Operation Epic Fury. That's the basic combat term.
I think the basic problem was they expected Iran to do nothing, and Iran were just like, no, we're going to launch missiles at the UAE, which will cause even more disruption to oil flows that are already teetering.
Mission name that was given to the US and Israel assault, if you like, on Iran. Mr. Rubio said that the focus now would be on Project Freedom, and that was a defensive operation that the United States was launching to basically guide vessels, oil tankers in particular, through the Strait of Hormuz, which, of course, Iran had also claimed it was in control of. Well, only a few minutes.
Yeah, for me though, like, Look, even if you like the Democratic Party, they lost to like an incompetent rapist, paedophile closely associated with Epstein, and in part because they just keep going further to the right. Like, what is this? Like, why not just do something more significant? Why do you blame leftists? It's insane. Realistically, it's just because it's the only lifeblood they have of their streaming career, because it's trying to cut something apart from Hassan.
A couple of hours, I should say, after Mr. Rubio had concluded his remarks and stepped down from the lectern, President Trump went on social media, Truth Social, to announce that basically Project Freedom was a thing of the past, a day and a half after it had come into operation. The president saying, as you mentioned, that he was pausing the operation in order to make time for talks between, or to capitalize on talks between the US and Iran, which he seemed to think were bearing fruit. What are we to make of all this?
Well, I mean, also, if they fucking listened to leftists, Hillary Clinton would not have been a candidate. And one of the things that marred Hillary Clinton was how deeply, like, of course Obama was the president, but Hillary Clinton was so deeply involved in what happened in Libya. Like, that's their fuck up. If they listened to the left and altered their stupid, moronic foreign policy, then maybe they would win.
I mean, frankly, your guess is as good as mine. It does...
Like, your job should be to, if you care about winning in the Democratic Party, your job should be to change it, even if you claim you have such deep love for it.
Seem that Project Freedom, that move by the US to guide ships through the Strait of Hormuz, had antagonized Iran. They had promised to attack ships that were going through, escorted by the US. But is the US on the verge of some sort of agreement with Iran over its nuclear stockpile, something that President Trump suggested might be the case in that Truth Social posting this evening? We really don't know, and the next few days may perhaps shine some light on it, or maybe not.
Yeah, interesting, Dave.
I mean, I think that ultimately, anyone who is not just entirely look, I know a lot of people are hypercritical of Bernie, and I understand why. His foreign policy is repugnant. But it's kind of crazy that even that is unacceptable to the Democratic Party establishment. Kind of crazy to think about, really. Just had one lousy debate. It was so unfair. Yeah, I mean, the Biden stuff is crazy. The Biden stuff, the standing Biden for so long. Like, I'd be mad at that stuff as well. Like, talking... Even like, I don't know what Ken Klippenstein's actual political beliefs are, but at least he actually calls out the US for being a gerontocracy, that it's all just old people. That there are like, aren't there 4 senators who've died, or 4 American politicians, they may not all be senators, who've died on the job recently, and most of them are just because they're fucking old.
David, in terms of what might happen next, because the price of oil has come down in the hope, I'm assuming, that there could be some negotiation in the near future between both sides. And of course, we've got Iran's foreign minister in China, and China may exert some pressure on Iran to reopen that strait, because for China it's very important.
Well, that's true. And of course, if you're to believe Donald Trump, then it is Pakistan that has been exerting pressure as well, Sally, seeking to get the two sides back to the negotiating table.
But I think as well, all of these people, their engagement with politics is to win debates on the internet. That's what they exist for. But the problem is they're not operating to actually change people's minds or to actually think deeply about politics or the world in which we live. It is literally to win debates online and to feel morally superior because they support the slightly lesser of two evils that is still incredibly fucking evil. Like, and they even hate people like Zoran. Like, they do. They don't want to get people behind people like Zoran, because Zoran is not like them in the sense of, I know you can criticize him for the way that he's disappointed on certain issues, But because he's someone who isn't just like entirely Democratic Party shill that just says Republicans bad as his only policy platform, they don't like him.
But of course,
because he's someone who actually appeals to people who are more left-wing, they don't like him. Even though he can win, they don't like him. Even though it was pretty obvious that he'd done something pretty impressive, they don't like him. And it is scoring point bullshit. That's all it is. It's not... And that's what I often think about, like how, when I talk about Palestine, like I'm interested in Palestine and colonialism as a wider thing. These people are interested in Palestine on a debate to make sure that the US empire can keep doing the same thing.
Also, there's only been one face-to-face negotiation between the two sides since this conflict began towards the end of February, and that resulted in the two sides walking away still a long way apart. So a lot of questions, among them, of course, what happens to the 1,600 or so vessels still stranded in the...
By the way, I don't think this is being mentioned here, but you know Araghchi is in China today, and China have actually been pretty interesting, because the fact that, first of all, they're meeting with Araghchi is quite something to talk about, and like something that's worth mentioning. But the other point vis-a-vis Araghchi being there is that the Chinese aren't just like Iranians open the strait. They're like Iranians open the strait, but also you need to... open the strait. You need to, the Americans and all parties need to sit down and open the strait.
The Strait of Hormuz, some of which have been there for up to 2 months, with sailors, according to Marco Rubio, in some cases dying of starvation. Did
he say that?
Just have to wait and see.
OK, David, thank you very much indeed. David Willis there with the latest from the White House. Well, let's now focus on Iran's foreign minister's trip to...
No, and that's the point that I'm making. Like, I think, by the way, even though he did call Cuba and Venezuela dictatorships and tyrants, I think he's still, like, compared to Bernie, he's much more progressive on foreign policy. Like, his views on Israel would be a notable point there. But, like, what I'm saying is that guy, even someone like him, is too left-wing for them because his policy platform is not Republicans bad. Like, you always think to the Hillary Clinton comment, right, about how, like, basket of deplorables. One of the most moronic statements that Hillary Clinton made and kind of describes the problem of Democratic Party politics is when she referred to, like, Trump supporters as a basket of deplorables. And it's like, yeah, there are definitely a lot of deplorables amongst them. But let's be real. Most people in America and most people in every country are pretty fucking deplorable. Americans more so than most, but generally people are pretty deplorable. And that's not good enough. If you're just like, oh, the other side are deplorable, when you're especially someone whose actions are eclipse the deplorable things that the average American is even capable of doing, what can you really say? But yeah, when she said, I'm just here in Cedar Rapids, that should have swung it for her. Putting any long-term faith in the Democrats is a mistake. I think you're probably right about that. Yeah, and I'm surprised, to be fair, saying Pokemon goes to the polls is kind of sick. That was sick as well.
China. He is in Beijing and has begun a meeting with his Chinese counterpart. Asked about that visit, Secretary of State Marco Rubio had this to say.
I hope the Chinese tell him what he needs to be told, and that is that what you are doing in the Straits is causing you to be globally isolated. You're the bad guy in this. You guys should not be blowing up ships. You should not be putting mines. You should not be trying to hold hostage the global economy. It is in China.
I love how he had to correct himself because he would then be admitting that they do have a lot of cards, that all of the stuff that Trump says is utter bullshit. The basket of deplorable comment exemplifies the bipartisan elite view of voters are an immoral obstacle and not a constituency who must be served. Yeah, you're right about that. You're right about that. And by the way, as well, saying that Iran is fully isolated when they're meeting China the same day is an interesting one.
China's interest that Iran stop closing the straits. It's harming China as well.
Well, let's go live to Beijing now. Our China correspondent there is Stephen McDonnell. Stephen, so is Iran's foreign minister in meetings?
Also, quite interesting, when you have, like, British people who kind of like China, I feel like most of them are posh, and I don't know why. I'm looking into it, though. Who are really interested in it. Politicians will always abandon the marginalised people they claim to represent in order to obtain political power. The left will never gain enough power through the establishment. I mean, I don't know about someone like Eugene Debs, but Eugene Debs always said very interesting things. And maybe Eugene Debs could have done it, but... Yeah, and I do like them saying Beijing. Beijing. Waluli Allah. I love that. The Waluli Allah. And Bing Chilling.
With Wang Yi right now?
Yes, that's right. And what we're waiting for is the official readout, which will come at some point. This is the sort of notes that both governments give us. It's not a verbatim.
But are you King of the Kill? You may be China-pilled, but are you learning the language? Do you speak Chinese? Because I feel like I see this Instagram guy who's quite funny, who's like in China, just out there, doing like semi-funny stuff. But I also knew a guy at uni who was also quite posh and liked China a lot.
Record of what's said, but we'll give
And maybe it is the Hong Kong connection.
The highlights of points discussed. Certainly in terms of what the governments want to tell us, though. The interesting thing about this, though, is why are they meeting face to face? Why has Iran's foreign minister flown all the way to Beijing for this meeting when these two foreign ministers have had plenty of phone conversations since the war started? And I think most analysts would say it's because it's in the lead up to Donald Trump visiting here later next week. China would love to be able to say to the US, look, we're doing our best to end the gridlock.
Oh, I mean, also, by the way, King of the Kill, I mean, from what I understand, learning, like, Mandarin, like, standardized Chinese is almost impossible. Well, it's not impossible, but it's very complex.
In the Strait of Hormuz, we've been having these discussions with the Iranian government on that front. Now, we heard US Secretary of State Marco Rubio saying that basically Wang Yi should be reading the Riot Act to the Iranian government, saying that you're the bad guys in all this. You should stop blocking that strait because, and it's because of your actions that you're essentially an international pariah. Well, the Chinese government is not going to say that Iran is the bad guy because they think that the US and Israel are also the bad guys.
Nah, they think China are fucking sick. They think Iran is fucking sick, that's why. They love Araghchi's aura.
After all, they started the war. The official line from the Chinese government is that everyone needs to sit down and start talking. And naturally, the Chinese government wants that strait to open as well as other countries because even though this is a very strong economy, that war is also hurting China.
Yeah.
By the way, also, you guys are talking about people learning Chinese, and you mentioned that someone's been studying for 8 years and he's barely competent. I also think one of the unfortunate things about languages is some people are just really, really good at them. Like, I have a few friends who learn Arabic, and one of my friends is like, oh my God, like he sounded like he could literally be, there were actually two guys, they both sounded like they could literally be Arabs, and when they were talking to like other Arabs, they were like, oh my God, you have a Syrian accent almost. Like, he was so good at Arabic.
I mean, China's role in all of this is very interesting in that China is seen as a friend to Iran, an ally of Iran, and yet at the same time it's got huge economic and investment ties in the Gulf, and a lot of its energy flows through the Strait of Hormuz, which is...
This is, by the way, this is categorically true, and Iran is less worried about the future... China is less worried about the future of Iran and more worried about the future of the Gulf. Like the future of the Gulf, the future of the Gulf states. The Gulf states is where bigger Chinese money is. It just is. Like, maybe there'll be the worry, something that is semi-worrying, like in terms of, and this doesn't come from like a Sinophobia thing, I hope you realise. First of all, like the stream though, by the way, guys. But second of all, not from a xenophobia point, but like a general just worry. Iran may start hosting, or could potentially, China probably wouldn't do it, but could host bases from Russia and China, and it's just like, oh, global tensions go up a bit, but I mean, the US has already inflamed them so much, so it's hard to really blame, it's hard to really blame specifically, Iran, China, or Russia, or whatever. I learned basic English in about 4 years, started at 0. I do feel like one of the benefits for learning English is there's so much like just cultural production out of English, and I guess there's so much out of China, but so much easily accessible globally, right? Like a lot of my friends would always say that they learnt fucking English from friends. I had a friend who spoke so many languages. He spoke like beautiful, perfect English, fluent, I think Sorani Kurdish, Arabic, Persian, just like amazing amounts of languages.
To all intents and purposes, shut at the moment. So China is trying to mediate here in a very diplomatic way and gain points on the international stage for doing so.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And what's more, we're hearing that the Chinese government has been telling these Chinese companies which are buying Iranian oil to keep doing it, even though they're facing sanctions.
Yeah, did any of you hear this? Apparently, China just told the teapot refineries to just ignore American sanctions
from the US. Now, that could also be so that when Donald Trump and Xi Jinping sit down at the end of next week and have these...
I think you're probably right about that, the dude, actually, that there'd be no need to host bases, probably bolster them. I guess it's kind of like, how the West often sees Ukraine, which is basically a way to degrade Russia in many ways. Like, that's why they see it's fine of just, like, pouring it in and it being, like, a sort of never-ending conflict is because it's great to degrade Russia, but maybe China starts to look at Iran in that kind of way. I mean, Iran has put up realistically, Iran has put up a pretty good fucking defense for facing off against the two most advanced air forces in the world. Right, toxoplasmosis. Have you just? That is a very politics style comment.
Talks. There's leverage on that front, so both sides have got something to give, if you like. For the moment, though, China is still buying this oil from Iran, and Beijing would argue, well, why shouldn't we? We didn't start the war. We're not a party to the war. Why should we stop buying Iranian oil just because the US and Israel are involved in a conflict with that state?
Okay, Stephen, for now, thank you very much.
By the way, Turkish is like a specifically hellish language to learn. Turkish is a unique language. Unless you live there, it's really hard.
Much indeed. Well, let's now pick the brains of the director of the Iranian studies at Stanford University, Abbas Milani. Abbas, I know you were listening in to all of that. So,
I like this guy. I like the look of him. Let's see what he's got to say for himself.
What do you think Wang Yi's messages for Abbas Araghchi today?
Araghchi. Abbas Sriracha. That's because sanctions are usually issued by the UN. Just the US doing sanctions is technically illegal, so China sees them as illegitimate. I mean, fair play to China. I think they probably should.
First of all, I think one message is that Iran must...
No, I just mean Turkish is a very complex language. I actually learnt a little bit of Turkish at university, but I picked Farsi because I enjoyed it more.
And the Strait of Hormuz, China has been very clear, they have repeated it several times, that this is the international waterway and it should be opened. I think he might be reading the Right Act, I'm not sure, but China is very clear on that. But China also has a lot of interest in United Arab Emirates that has been attacked by Iran repeatedly. There are 150,000, I think, about Chinese citizens who live in United Arab Emirates. I would be very surprised if the Chinese government doesn't tell Iran that they should cool their heels and stop attacking United Arab Emirates, which is a non-combatant.
What phrase did he just use? Cool their heels. I've never heard that one before. And he is giving a bit of a Ghibli style character.
In all of this.
But don't you think China as well is seeing this as a great opportunity, this war initiated by Israel and the US, to undermine the US on the international stage and to show China as the place of stability and collaboration?
Well, absolutely. I think China is cherishing the position that it has. It is doing exactly as you suggest. I think one of the things that the Iranians literally have been writing about is their anxiety.
No, he said cool their heels, not cool their jets. And I've been to Turkey. I really enjoyed Istanbul.
Regime, particularly, is that China might make a deal with the United States when Mr. Trump goes there. They want to make sure that they're on the same page with the Chinese, that they won't be part of some kind of a deal. But China has extensive contacts with Saudi Arabia, with the United Arab Emirates, with Qatar, with all of the countries on the other side of the Persian Gulf. So China is sitting in a very comfortable position.
But also it has been criticised, China.
Chris K. Live, you a legend. Thank you, sweet agony. Very kind. He's so red, is he pissed? I don't know. I'm looking into this.
There has been accusations so that it's been...
And yes. By the way, when people tell you that Trump is doing some masterclass of undermining China, it really tells you how ridiculous and stupid they are. Oh my God. Apparently Iran has agreed to remove all enriched uranium in 30 days. Well, that doesn't surprise me. They would have agreed that anyway.
Providing military support to Iran in the same way that Russia has been seen to be doing so. But China is refuting that, isn't it?
Yeah, China has refuted it, but I would be surprised if they haven't given some aid, for example, intelligence, as Russia apparently has done. But that's the least you can expect of China. China has been considered Iran's chief ally in the international community next to Russia. Both of those countries, I think, have decided to sit on essentially the sideline. They have provided just enough to Iran to say that they're still an ally. But they have made their sentiments very clear that they don't think Iran is doing the right things. They might be critical of Israel and the United States for attacking, but I think they believe, for example, the attacks on the other China's allies on the other side of the Persian Gulf, closing the Strait of Hormuz, all of these things, I don't think sits well with the Chinese.
And just briefly, Abbas, do you think we could be on the verge of a deal between the US and Iran?
I would be surprised if it wasn't. I think both sides need a deal, both sides want a deal, and both sides will declare a victory after a deal where I think both of them will have probably made some concessions.
Okay.
I think the US wants a deal more. I'm going to be frank. I don't think Iran doesn't necessarily want a deal, but I think it's the US that wants it more. Marxist Valerie, I just got an A in my Chinese class. One day I'll go. Congratulations. What's the IOF shoot the shield animation? Yeah, I've heard Istanbul was Constantinople, but that's no one's business but the Turks. Let's find out how Fox News was taking this earlier today.
News alert, the president says based on the request of Pakistan and other countries.
This is going up. Wait. Just using my volume maxing.
Fox News alert, the president says based on the request of Pakistan and other countries, we have mutually agreed that while the blockade will remain in full force and effect, Project Freedom will be paused for a short period of time to...
By the way, this is actually just unbelievable. This is just absolutely insane. The fact that this is just being announced as like, oh yeah, we've been told to stop doing it. You started it a day ago.
See whether or not the agreement can be finalized and signed. We suspect the president is letting the Iranians save face. The enemy just yesterday said they controlled the strait. That was obviously a lie. And watching the Americans escort ship after ship.
I mean, the modern Chinese language is actually a pretty new invention, like a standardized Chinese. That's pretty new. Pretty new, but there are multiple languages. But modern standardized Chinese was created in the last 100 years, basically to standardize their language because it's a country that's so fucking big.
Out of the Gulf, and them not being able to do anything about that was going to be humiliating. Not only were they going to lose whatever military prestige they had left in the region, their negotiators weren't going to be able to fight for their position after they lost their last bargaining chip.
What? What on earth are you on about? How does this part... Who watches this? This guy was just like... This guy has literally just said Iran wasn't able to do anything. They were sinking ships yesterday. The notion that they're not able to do anything is intriguing at best.
The commander-in-chief must believe that the Iranians are serious about surrendering if he's going to pause Project Freedom for the sake of a deal. Because you could also continue Project Freedom during the negotiations. You know, you do want to get these foreign ships moving. The president must know what he's doing. And we're about to find out how insane in the brain the regime really is.
Fox News is so funny. But it just doesn't make sense. But also to make it easier to learn for largely illiterate peasants, no. I think it was... I don't know if it was actually easier to learn. I think it was more... I guess it's to have like some standardized thing to help largely illiterate peasants, I believe. He's peddling tripe. Yeah, he's peddling tripe, and I want none of it. Isn't that the dude who slashed his now ex-wife's tires and forced her to get a ride home from him? Is that true? Oh yeah, is that him? I remember that being a thing. But I also, let's listen to this analysis from Trita Parsi.
He's co-founder, executive vice president of the Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft. So that was quite a contrast, by the way, between the president and then the briefing we had from his Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, later in the day. But this idea of crying uncle. So what would you say? Where are we?
Look, this is actually very consistent. This is exactly what Trump has been saying for the last couple of months. And we heard also back in January that his envoy Witkoff told reporters that Trump was frustrated that the Iranians had not surrendered yet, thinking that the military threats, etc., would cause them to surrender and the amassing of 1/3 of America's Navy outside of Iran's shorelines. Now we're hearing on Wall Street Journal reported yesterday that Trump is frustrated that they haven't surrendered because of the blockade. The problem is the search for a surrender. Iran is not going to surrender, and it certainly is not going to surrender now because it didn't lose.
This is kind of the mental thing of like, how do you resolve this? The US isn't going to get Iran to surrender. So what do you do?
Lose this war. Had we actually pursued meaningful and realistic objectives, we could have gotten a deal much sooner. We would never have had this war. This entire war, this escalation with the blockade, all of these repercussions coming from this unrealistic pursuit of the other side's surrender.
So what about the idea of then of at least making some progress on the nuclear issues, which did seem to be the focus in part of Rubio when he spoke? Here's the Secretary of State from earlier.
We know for a fact that they retain highly enriched uranium at 60%, that they did so, and that has no civilian use, none, zero whatsoever. So they have an opportunity here to agree to something. They're acting like they want a military, nuclear program.
So what about that? Take surrender back for a moment, and they have an opportunity, as he puts it, to agree to something. What might that something look like?
Well, look, it was actually the pursuit of surrender in the nuclear talks as well that preceded this war, because in February of that year, the Omanis negotiated a deal in which the Iranians agreed to downblend their 60% enriched uranium. They would reduce it so it actually would come down to about 1975% and then would be used for fuel pads. So we had a solution to that as well, and Trump rejected it because he wanted their surrender. So to go asking for that at this point while still insisting on surrender is a very, very odd way of negotiating.
I'm sure he's hearing from at least some people.
Yeah, I really do enjoy how American negotiations work. You give up everything instantaneously. By the way, they're trying to do this with Hamas. I don't know if any of you have. Mohammed Shehadeh wrote a decent piece in it's called The Gaza Disarmament Trap, and it's basically about how Israel has delivered on nothing from the ceasefire and just has this expectation of Hamas to give up every weapon, which is totally implausible, by the way, and loads of weapons have fallen out of the hands of Hamas into everyone. Just like random people, like gangs and stuff. That was the case with Korean alphabet, actually. Sejong the Great did many reforms, and that included the language. They basically created the alphabet the Korean people use today, back in like 15 AD. It took Chinese sounds and turned them into letters from which you create syllables, basically, to not overcomplicate things. Interesting.
That argue that it's still possible, like we had a retired general earlier this hour who made the case that just a few more weeks of bombing could be all Iran would take. And
two of you just said the same thing. That's just the art of the deal, baby. Jules said it and then Scythe said it too.
the regime would all but collapse under that type of pressure. But you're saying you just do not see it. No chance?
I have to be frank. The American public is probably tired of hearing retired generals go on air and saying for 20 years, just a couple of more months in Afghanistan and we will have victory. And we saw exactly how that ended. We saw how this war has gone and in which the Iranians actually had escalation dominance. A couple of more months of bombing, well, a couple of more months of dramatically increased oil prices. What is that going to do to the U.S. economy, to average Americans who are paying now $5, perhaps $6, $7 at the gas pumps? You may be able to defeat Iran militarily, but it will be coming at the cost of Trump's own presidency and a crashing economy here back in the United States.
I understand where you think the mistakes were made. All of that said, what's your analysis of
what even happens from this point? Like, what can you achieve without major boots on the ground? Nothing. Nothing. There is nothing more that you can achieve.
how you do think this will end? How does this end?
Look, it all depends on what Trump decides to do. He still has the option of going back to the table with a much more reasonable approach. And of course, the Iranians need to do that as well. Some of the goals that they're publicizing are also maximalist. I mean, the U.S. is not going to pay reparations, for instance, however much the Iranians may feel that that is justified, or that all of the U.S. bases are going to be vacated. I think they will end up getting vacated for a completely different reason, but not because the Iranians are demanding it.
But I'm saying we'll end up with a Strait of Hormuz that's open again like it was before the war. Like, get there.
Not like it was before the war.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. People who like MAGA treat Trump like a godlike figure, and they genuinely believe that no matter how moronic the things he does are, that they basically just end up thinking that that he has some overall master plan. They think it's like God's plan or something.
Or I think the Iranians, unfortunately, are going to retain that control. From a U.S. standpoint, it's going to be very problematic. But the question is it going to be closed or not? And I don't think it will be closed. It will be open, but they're going to be charging some fees, potentially together with some other GCC states. There are ways to make sure that this can nevertheless be done in a manner that it doesn't set a bad precedent. Again, it's not good. But, you know, when you start a bad war that you shouldn't have started, you can't expect good consequences to come from that.
That is a really good point, Rob. Rob. This wildcard part is that Trump is already the sin eater for this war. So now the bipartisan elite want to destroy as much as they can before getting a deal. That's a really interesting point. I guess Biden sort of became that with Gaza, right? Like, he ate so much of the shit and enabled Israel to do as it pleased. Like, Trump didn't even have to eat that much when it came to Gaza. Like, he didn't. The truth is Biden ate most of it. He knew what the Israelis were doing, and he supported it and backed it. How about making the UAE part of Oman, and that's it? Interesting suggestion. If Trump broke his neck while walking down the stairs of Air Force One, Fox would be like, "Masterful gambit, sir." I don't even think that's wrong. Like, genuinely, this actually is the kind of world in which these people live. He's like their religion, American Christianity is unusual, to say the least. But also, the way in which they have, like, this faith in Trump as some kind of, like, godlike figure, it's pretty insane to think about. And this is also, by the way, from the Kabasi letter. Iran has launched a new website called the Persian Gulf Strait Authority. Sorry, there's something funny about just, like, calling a website the Strait Authority to oversee the traffic through the Strait of Hormuz, just minutes after an Axios report claimed a deal was near to end the war and reopen Hormuz. The site signals plans to charge ships for safe passage, and vessels are expected to receive rules and instructions via email under the new system. US oil prices are now up 5% from their low of the day. Yeah, I don't know if any of you saw this. The rebounds in oil prices today were crazy. Looking at oil prices, look at this rebound. So crude went down to $98, And then it went back up to 104. American Christianity is ironically best expressed in the Michael Bay Transformers movies. Mate, I never even liked Transformers as a kid. Yeah, they should have called it King of the Straits. God King Trump is bigly... yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, people do believe he's like some God King, and they have way too much of an investment in the notion that, like, you know, the God has a plan for everything. So they just invest it in Trump, you know? The evangelical right has been used to uplifting charlatan grifters for decades as well. It's their whole politicals. Well, I get, but the thing is all of them have actually been quite religious. Trump is just not. I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? Trump in 2016. Still true, if not more. Yeah, I don't think you're wrong about that. Something Emperor's New Clothes. To the point that he became Curious George. I'm curious about the world. What's wrong by being inspired by a little monkey in a hat? Settle the beef in a dodgy underground Russia fight club. Oh, hell yeah. That sounds like a dream come true. But apparently Netanyahu and Trump are calling today because that's who really needs to have a chat about what's going on in Iran. Also, have you guys noticed my nose is better? I've been saline rinsing it. And Emmanuel Macron has said, I have just met with the Iranian president, Masoud Pezeshkian. I'd expressed my deep concern over the ongoing escalation and condemned the unjustified strikes against Emirati civilian infrastructure and several ships. All parties must lift the blockade of the strait without delay and without conditions. We must durably return to the regime of full freedom of navigation that prevailed before the conflict. The multinational mission that France and the United Kingdom have set up can help restore the confidence among ship owners and insurers. It will by its very nature be distinct from the warring parties. The pre-positioning of the aircraft carrier Charles de Gaulle fits within this context. Recent events clearly demonstrate the usefulness that such a mission will have. I have invited the Iranian president to seize the opportunity, and I intend to discuss the matter with President Trump. Okay, bro. Your singular aircraft carrier is really gonna fix things. That's enough out of you, Macron. Silence. You should be focused on suing Candace Owens or whatever the hell it is you're up to. I don't know, basically. Yeah, interesting one. We've heard from the big man himself. Mild over-the-counter steroid nasal spray. Nah, saline rinse is helping it. I'm just going to go quickly blow it. I'll be back in like a second. Okay, on that note, let's do a little bit of shit at the end of the stream. I saved Timedal. What was the other game I played yesterday? That was fucking awesome. I love that. Okay, right. Jesus Christ. Okay, guys, so we have to work out where things go on the timeline. So the first one we have is Maurice Green wins 100 meters in Sydney. That has to be after the first Opium War, right? Yeah. What Vlatic Pile invented? Volta builds the first battery. Here? Or here? Where do you think this is? Where do you think this goes? What's Traddle? Oh, this seems boring. Oh, no, I'm not doing that. No way. What is this? Guess which country exports these products. Oh my god. Oh my god, this looks awful. Chris doing the wiki speedruns. Opium first. You think opium comes before this? Okay. This is it's the Valatic pile. No, I think it's here. I really think it's here. Or do you think it's there? Can't have battery before electricity. Between. Not. It was before. Italy invades Ethiopia. That's obvious. That's 1930s, right? Or 20s. Yeah, 30s. Aztec Empire established. That's back here. That's like pre 1400, right? That's 11? I don't know. 1428. Okay. It was definitely pre 1500. Third Crusade ends. That's here. That's definitely here. Oh no, wait. No, it's not. That's before this. Richard the Lionheart and Saladin signed the peace treaty. That's here. It has to be here, right? Yeah. Nixon shock. US unilaterally cancelled direct convertibility. So that's the end of Bretton Woods. That's like 80 or no, 72? 71. Black Death that's here, right? Wait, when's the Black Death? 1400? Isn't it just after in the 1400s, after the Aztec Empire? No, you kind of forget. One of the interesting things about the colonization of the Americas is that, like, in Spain and Mexico and stuff, you have this thing of like no, this is Timedall. You have this thing of basically like there'd already been empires that came and conquered. It's just the Spanish stayed longest and ended up being incredibly barbaric. The Aztecs themselves were pretty brutal, but yeah, what the Spaniards ended up doing, Jesus Christ. When do you think the Black Plague is? Is it here or here? I know it was obviously one of these two. I think it's actually here, isn't it? 1300s. Metal planning machine. Jamie Foxx, the actor, builds a machine that flattens metal. That has to be here or here, right? Oh, wait, I bet it's some bullshit that it's like after this. Any ideas? What do you reckon on this one? Who spouted the knowledge of the Third Crusade like that? Who spouted knowledge of the Third Crusade? Me? I don't know shit about the Third Crusade. Called the Gaelic Resurgence. Which led to the Gaelic Resurgence, Magrida? When does the metal planning machine? IMO 1500s, you think? No, it has to be. I think it's here. Yes, come on. 35 out of 36. Come on. Wiki trivia. We're going to do wiki trivia as well. Daily. Okay, start. Yep. Islamic Emirates of Afghanistan is established. Wait, what am I doing wrong? Oh, okay. That's 1996. I was assuming that was much later on. That's why the Tudors had to invade again. Oh, interesting. It was in between the two. Sorry, I clicked off. Wait, when was it? So the metal planing machine was invented in 1814. I did think it would be after this, but I didn't really think it would be. I thought it might be here in between these two, but I got it right. The Battle of Tours. I mean, this is in like 600-700, right? 700, yeah. Angkor Wat is completed. Buddhist temple complex in Cambodia. Ooh. Ah. When was Angkor Wat built? Was it built back then, or is it more of a modern thing? Jesus Christ, the 6-7s. You've got to stop, lads. You've got to stop. When was this? When was Angkor Wat established? Here? Is it ancient? Fuck. Okay. No! Oh! Cleopatra dies. Oh, I mean, that's there. Orhan becomes Sultan of the Ottoman Empire. Oh, that's obviously here. Ford Model T debuts, obviously here. That's really simple. Columbia Records is founded here, in between these two. Surely Columbia is not founded that much earlier. Angkor Wat's no, Angkor Wat is completed in 802. I built Angkor Wat last Thursday. Did you? I mean, you should probably talk to the people who made this fucking game. Columbia Records was established in 4000 BC, in my opinion. I think you're right about that one. I'm assuming this is here, though. No fucking way. The V&A Albert Museum opens in London. That might be here or here. No fucking way. This is actually so hard. Can you move the camera up? Yeah, of course. I can even zoom it in a little bit. Hold on. Does that help at all? Probably does. I can't really scroll down. V&A is established. I'm assuming the Albert. This is established maybe here or here or here. Because is it named after Prince Albert, Victorian Albert? No, I think it might be here. No way. It was back then. Fuck. Shit. Oh. Old City of Jerusalem so many times. All ancient temples are upkept. Yeah, Samarkand is really interesting because Samarkand is quite ancient and there are really ancient parts of it. But when they got to it in like the 1930s, they rebuilt loads of it. Why the hell are these people still using AD? We need AK. I know. And this should be BK. This should be, and we should be very clear about that. Because, like, Charlie Kirk is kind of a universal figure. Jesus is well, I guess Jesus is in multiple religions, but Charlie Kirk is in the mind of everyone. So, and I've heard that people are carrying the flame. Angkor what? Yeah, I fucked the V&A one. I thought the V&A would be here. I did not think it would be before Columbia. That's actually hard, you know. I need an AK. And after Kirky? What was the one you wanted me to play where you have to look at photos? The one where you have to look at photos and decide off the fucking photo? Which one was that? It would be, not only would it be a good way to honor his name, it would be a good way to carry the flame. Time guesser. Okay, I'll do the time guesser and then I'll hop off. Time limit. Okay, right, let's go. Okay, this is Libya. Wait, is this just going to be a trick and it's not going to be in Libya? The guy kind of looks Libyan. I don't know. Where was Gaddafi from in Libya? Does anyone know? Does anyone know where Gaddafi was actually from in Libya? Was he from Benghazi? Oh, fuck it. You know what? I'm just going to guess Tripoli or something. Where's Tripoli? I'm going to guess this, and I'm going to guess 2013? 2014? Oh my god! Oh, do you see how close I was? 2011, wow. That was pretty good. That was pretty fucking good. Oh, this is Birmingham. This is Birmingham. Has to be like central Birmingham. Let's go here. Where's like the center of Birmingham? Here. Birmingham. No, wait. Birmingham city center's there. I'm gonna guess that this is something like as early as it goes. Maybe like 1910. No, it's Sydney. What, you think this is in Sydney? Why would it be in Sydney? Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna guess then. Oh my god, that was not bad. What was the year? Oh, I was 4 years off. Fuck. I can tell what's pre-Great War. I love the Great War. Oh, what language is that? Amaran Zon Capit Roda Untuk Bantuan and Pentarion. It kind of looks like China, but I don't think it will be. I'm just guessing from this. Oh, you could probably tell by the number plates. Fuck. I wish I was, like, smarter at this. Are there any other clues? This guy. What language is this? Kami Menyediakan. Is it somewhere like Indonesia? Oh, God. Oh. Do you think it's somewhere? It says on the bottom left. No. Yeah. It does. No. It's not Irish. If that narrows it down. You know what? I think it could be Indonesia. It does kind of look Turkish, but I don't know. That doesn't feel like it's Turkish. There's also that does not look Turkish. I think actually now you're saying Vietnam, that kind of does look like Vietnam. The Vietnamese, but I don't know. Let's go Bangkok in 20. This is recent. Look at the way she's dressed. That is a woke ass clothing, and it's a really good camera. It has to be somewhere. I think it's Vietnam. I actually do think it's Vietnam because signs in English. I'm gonna guess actually like quite recent, like 2021. Oh, it was Malaysia in 2025. Not so good. Malaysia. Fuck. Oh, where? Right. What's this? What's this? Answer: American. What is this? Hello, Burgerreichians. Hello. Burgerreichians. Hello. Burgerreichians, tell me where in North America this is. Madison Square, what in New York? Where New York is here. Where's New York City in this? Oh, here. Of course it is. Where is Madison Square in New York? Yeah, I was looking at their things. Where are the Clippers? Who are the Clippers? Toyota. It must be. Yeah. Good spot. It must be. This gent looks Japanese. He looks like a Japanese fella. There's an EU flag. Yeah, but it must be like some Oh, I'm not zooming into his ass, I swear. Philadelphia. Oh. Well, that's the Philadelphia Eagles. Should we go Philly? Do you think it's Philly? Heard about Detroit. Heard about Pittsburgh, PA. I got 3 passports. Don't even know my real name. Clippers at LA. Ooh. Wait, is this the Clippers Stadium? Why do none of you like basketball? It's Philly. Thank you. I don't know where they play basketball. Here. Wait, is the Merlin Stadium the Marion Stadium? I'm going to guess like 2018. You were 6 years off. Oh, we were close as fuck, though. Scottie Pippen Jr. colliding with KJ Martin during a Grizzlies versus 76 game. Okay, Burgerreich. Oh, where is this? I like this. Spiel Casino. Minawald. Longines. Foto Rosner. I thought it was German at first because they have like a bank, but they wouldn't have it all in English, no. Spiel Casino. FPO. Oh mein Gott, hier ist Wienerwelt. Oh. Yeah, it might be Germany, but it just doesn't, like, why would they have everything in English? This guy looks creepy. Österreich? Hotel Astoria? That's not very helpful. Nordstern Versicherungen. Okay, no. This must be somewhere German, because Nordstern Versicherungen. I don't know what Versicherungen means. But Wienerwald also... Maybe it is Vienna. But it feels like it would be Berlin. Okay. Maybe it's Berlin. Maybe it's this side of Berlin. Ooh, I've kind of fucked up the time, I think. AI translated. Oh, okay, so the languages are AI translate. Oh, wait, this is like... I'm going to go Berlin 1960, West Berlin. You guys were right! It was Vienna! Is that Vienna? Oh my god. Well, it was definitely Austria. Wow, you guys were right. Well done. I was 16 years off. Oh, fuck this. Final score. Oh. Play again. Nah. I'll call it there. Okay, guys. Right. Unfortunate news for you all. No stream tomorrow. We're recording on a podcast episode, so sorry about that. And then over the weekend, I can't stream because I'm away. On Sunday, though, there'll be an update because I'll have to let you know who I'm feeling. Thank you all for the people who watched, donated, everything. Have a lovely rest of the week, and I'll see you guys next week on Monday at worst. See you guys soon.